Alright guys, so we're going for our day 11 and we have already done our discussion of HA and DRS, and we're going to continue with the rest of the topics. So there's affinity rules, and then there is fault tolerance that we need to talk about. Okay, so check my machine. Well, Jaswinder, well, after the class and the break before the class, you can contact, but
Okay,
you can just put the screenshots. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, in the break, if you have time, you can check. Otherwise, after the class, whatever suits you.
Okay, sure. And
Thank you.
thank you. And you can share the screen here as well if you're
Right now?
screenshot on the WhatsApp.
Okay. Thank you.
But guys, you can also contact me before the class, so maybe half an hour before, 1 hour before, and also then after the class, then right. Okay, so I can see that screenshot here, and this is the one. Well, the thing is that it's not loading, and obviously there are first of all, the underlying hardware is the main culprit there, and it's not happening to everyone who has the same hardware. So once the slow hardware is figured out, then there's DNS settings that has to be checked as well, and it goes on and on. So there are so many things that need to be checked one by one. Okay, well, and try to properly shut down and then start the machine and then wait for like 15 minutes.
But actually, I from the last week, I'm trying waiting for the hours and sitting in front of the machine, but it doesn't work.
After properly shut down and then start.
Yes,
Okay.
multiple times I did that.
Okay, so then there are DNS settings there. Especially open the command prompt admin and try to put NSLOOKUP there. Turn off the firewalls, turn off the internet connection. So these things, especially NSLOOKUP, what does it say? You can just put it on the chat as well. Open command prompt with admin, type NSLOOKUP, press enter, and what's the result? You can show here as well.
Okay.
Alright guys, so let's continue with our next topic as well. So definitely I'm we need to have our next topics covered because of few days left, and we have to cover as many topics as we can. So that's why troubleshooting time, if we give more time to troubleshooting, then you won't have a lab to follow as well. So that's why if you could just let me go ahead and finish all the labs, and then we can figure out all the other things. And yes, if the error is persisting there, then upload the screenshot of the error that, hey teach, I've been trying that, and this is what it is. So do tell me the troubleshooting steps as well, so I could just go ahead. Okay, so Day11 has also shared some link there, Microsoft Microsoft Virtual Training Days. So you can just try to avail that. Thank you, this channel, for sharing that. Okay, so what we are trying to do here is it's in WhatsApp. Okay, so week 10, what we went for was the screenshots show that we went for DRS history. We checked it, and you can see the imbalanced bar, and then the bar has to be balanced as well. So one screenshot was actually required of imbalanced bar, but we were able to then balance the bar as well. And then we talked about the virtual machine override. So VM overrides, that's what we mentioned. So now the ongoing topics would be then what are affinity rules, and those are very important for configuring DRS. So anyone can I can't hear. Guys, are you able to hear me? Are you all able to hear me? Okay, there's a yes. So Orang, others can hear me. Please check your audio. Guys, thank you for replying. And so yeah, we were talking about the affinity rules, and before we go ahead with that, okay, after affinity rules is FT, or fault tolerance, right? And then we go ahead with the VOM and VEEM. Okay, what I just said. Yeah. So here, so first of all, the question is that if we go for the previous diagram where I had explained actually the comparison. Now this comparison diagram is so important, and you should know clearly that when do we use AWS, when does AWS, did I say AWS, seriously? Okay, that I teach on Saturday. So when do we use that DRS, when do we use HA, when do we use FT, right? So there was that comparison diagram that I'm trying my best to copy here. Okay, there you go. So seeing this definition, we should understand first of all when HA kicks in, when DRS kicks in, and then when FT kicks in. So this diagram is in front of you. Okay, so there are topics. There's a question. The Ramajit course says, I'm getting 500 error. Should I restart server 2 or wait? Well, 500 error. If it's 503, that means that background services are starting. If it is just 500, still wait. Give it 15 minutes and don't do anything, and then refresh, and it should try to change the error screen. If it's still after 15 minutes, then yes, shut down and start again. So guys, this application is a big one, and sometimes it's just 16 GB is really less RAM for that. But last course also tried to survive and patiently did the lab during the week, and but definitely I'm sure you guys are trying a lot. Now this is obviously you will get the marks for that, but my suggestion is that keep your effort going, because you will need that for the job, right? So after that you will be going for jobs, and the more you do the labs, the better you will be in terms of giving the interviews. When you're going for interviews, let me know. I will send you the interview questions. For the exam collection, you already have access to all the questions of any exam, AWS, Azure, whichever you want, right? Okay, so there is HADR. So the main thing here, I'm just going to repeat here, is that HA kicks in when you have a host going down, and we discussed that last time as well. And if the host goes down, the virtual machine will be restarting on the surviving hypervisor or ESXi host. DRS kicks in when you have degradation of performance. So if the host goes down, DRS cannot do anything for you. So that if the host goes down, HA kicks in. But DRS is when you have degraded performance. DRS can vMotion your machine to a better performing hypervisor host. And FT, now fault tolerance kicks in whether the active virtual machine here. So fault tolerance, in that case, you have a partner machine here and active machine here, and its partner passive standby machine here. And if the active virtual machine goes down for some reason, or the whole host goes down, the service fails over. It fails over to the passive machine, and passive becomes active, right? So this is what I wanted to repeat before we go for the affinity rules. So HA when the host crashes, DRS when the host is having degraded performance of CPU and RAM, FT either crash or very bad, unacceptably bad performance. It's actually disconnectivity. When you have disconnection, then it's gonna fail over to passive and standby virtual machine on the other host. So that's when FT kicks in. In HA, there is a downtime. In FT, so downtime means users will be effectively disconnected in HA, in case of HA. And in case of fault tolerance, there will be zero data loss and zero downtime. Users will not even know that they lost the active machine or the whole host hosting the active machine. So that's the benefit of fault tolerance, but fault tolerance can only be configured on critical machines and not all machines, because it takes a lot of CPU, RAM, and bandwidth. So that said, we can go ahead with the affinity rules as well. And that affinity rules, what are those, and what is the significance when you specially configure the DRS for fully automated and fully aggressive mode? Anyone knows what happens when we put DRS on fully automated and fully aggressive mode? Anyone knows what happens? What did we enable if we enable fully automated and fully aggressive mode? So what exactly do we enable there? Anyone knows that? Anyone can explain in his or her own words? What is the significance of putting DRS on fully automated and fully aggressive mode? Manor says force shutdown. Xiang says move around. Okay. Yeah, fully DRS, full automatic, full aggression or aggressive mode, right? So yes, Oleron says DRS, but what DRS? What DRS failover in event of resource issue? DRS failover. So DRS normally V-motions the machines, right? So suppose this was an interview question. You were sitting in front of me, and I'm asking you questions for interview, and I say that, okay, if I put DRS on fully automated and fully aggressive mode, so what did I achieve? So your concepts may be clear, but the words you use can show the interviewer that your concepts are wrong, right? So you can say that DRS automatically analyzes the degradation of performance and automatically V-motions the machine to a better performing host, right? But DRS does not do failover, and I understand that you may have the correct concept in the mind, but give it the correct words as well. That's where the interview success depends on. And incorrect words with the correct concept, but wordings were incorrect or a bit more confusing. So a successful interview can turn into a, unsuccessful interview. Okay, so and it's not forced shutdown, and yes, it is moving around. The virtual machines are actually V-motion. So when you say move around, it's better to say V-motion. So as Ramanjot Kaur says, it will V-motion, and yes, it will balance the load. Yes, you're right. Load balancing is another terminology that we also use, so it should not be confused with that load balancing that you may have talked about in AWS course. So, but it balanced the load, CPU and memory load on the hypervisors, right? So it moves the VMs even for slight improvement. Yes, okay, Safe says that. So exactly, that's very good. So yes, prepare for interviews now, and check out some interview tips out there as well for any IT interviews. And we need to prepare for the best higher paying job sooner, right? And do the certifications as soon as possible. That's a must. And do not delay on certifications. Okay, let's go ahead. Now we're talking about here affinity rules, and before that, yes, I wanted to clarify that DRS on full automation and aggressive mode. If DRS is on full automation and aggressive mode, what else you need to be careful about? So that's where we come out. We just then talk about affinity rules. So now I'm going to explain that what has affinity rules to do with what we are talking about. So affinity rules, let me just grab this diagram. This is our basic diagram, basically where we have a software SAN configured here, and right. So here, suppose you have so affinity rule number one. Let me just put it on the exact corner here. So affinity rules, there are 4 affinity rules, right? Okay, so in the chat, Seth says, in terms of best practice, what is the best migration threshold? Well, fully automated and fully aggressive would be used according to company policies. Now the boss must know, and we must be following company policies. Administrators put this when they are already overwhelmed with a lot of tickets. Either it's a company policy, yes, put it on full automation, or normally the company policy in majority of many of the companies is that hey, put it on that priority type 4 or 3, and whenever you're overwhelmed with tickets or you're doing some other critical task, then put it on fully automation and full aggressive. You have to go somewhere and there's no other person, then put it on. So use it when you really need it. Otherwise, keep an eye on the whole environment yourself. In other environments, they just say make it fully automated because you're already doing a lot of other works, and keep an eye on what's going on. But the virtual machine normally keeps on moving whenever there's another host that has to offer a lot of CPU and RAM. So yep, different companies, different policies, and we normally do it. We don't keep it on that level all the time, but we do it when you have something else to do, and the boss agrees with that as well. There is no disadvantage of putting it on full automation and aggressive mode if you have configured it correctly. And without affinity rules, definitely it might give you a lot of problems. So that's why we're coming to. But yes, according to company policy or according to your need and the boss's approval, you can keep it as all the time like this. Otherwise, normally it is priority 4 or priority 3, which is a bit lesser than this. Okay, so it's I'm gonna go for affinity rules here, and in affinity rules here. So we're talking about then so VM to VM affinity. So that's the first affinity rule, and then goes VM to VM anti-affinity, then VM to host affinity, then VM to host anti-affinity, right? So those are the rules here. In fact, let me just start typing there on our OneNote, so they will be shared with you. So VM to VM affinity rules, and then there is VM to VM affinity. And what is VM to VM affinity? It is that a VM, two VMs must be V motioned together and must stay on the same host together. That's VM to VM affinity. Let me just write the other ones, and then we're going to go ahead with the explanation or the comparisons. So VM to VM anti-affinity. That's the opposite of that. Obviously, two VMs, whichever you choose, must not stay on the same host. And so this is the main rule there, VM to VM anti-affinity, that whichever two you choose, DRS, please make sure that they must not be on the same. Suppose you put DRS on full automation and full aggression, so it will keep on moving the virtual machines if there's another host that is offering more CPU and RAM, right? So it could move any VM to any other host with any other VM. But there are some times that you don't want two VMs to be together on the same host for some particular reasons that we're going to be discussing. First, let me just write the whole thing. Then I'm going to ask you as well, what kind of scenarios there are there that you won't want two VMs to be together on the same host. Okay, then there is VM to host affinity and VM to host anti-affinity, right? So there is VM to host affinity, and that is a VM must not leave a particular host, right? And the VM to host anti-infinity is VM must not be hosted on a particular host. So suppose there's a ESXi host that a VM must stay on top of, or the other rule says must not stay, not be hosted on a particular host. So there are always scenarios where you don't want a certain virtual machine to be hosted on top of a certain physical host or ESXi host, right? So in that case, you have to assign those rules to different virtual machines. If you have put your DRS on fully automated and fully aggressive mode, then these rules are they become even more crucial. But even if you have not put it there, whenever you're about to vMotion the machine, even yourself manually, then these affinity rules will be followed because some virtual machines cannot be put together on the same host and some can be. So what are those scenarios now where you go for VM to VM, first of all, affinity and then anti-affinity? So if we go back to this, so there is that two VMs must be vMotion together and must stay on the same host together. So what kind of scenarios where you want two VMs to always stay together? So suppose there are two VMs here and the virtual machine is being migrated now. Obviously I should have some more hosts here to really get the picture more clear. Suppose there are ESXi 3 and ESXi 4 as well, right? So there is ESXi 03 and ESXi I04. Now, in that case, the two VMs must stay together. So these two VMs must be migrated. So the DRS thinks that, oh, A6i4 has a lot of CPU and RAM. I must migrate this VM. But then it realizes, oh, they are actually in the VM to VM affinity rule. So I have to move this guy as well. And then it analyzes again, yes, this host will be okay, and it will still provide more CPU and RAM if even both VMs go together. Because of the VM to VM affinity, it has to move. DRS has to vMotion the both machines wherever it decides to vMotion any one machine. Because of the rule, it has to vMotion both machines. Now, what kind of virtual machines would you put VM to VM affinity rule on? That's the question then, right? So anyone knows already? Anyone puts a guess there that hey, if that application is there, then these two virtual machines must stay together on any host they go. Or if this application is there, anyone has any idea about that? That what kind of virtual machines or what kind of applications of the virtual machines must require that the two machines be on the same physical host all the time? So what would you think, what kind of machines could be you would put that rule on? Exactly as you said, load balancing. Actually, nobody said anything. Just kidding. So yeah, here load balance. So well, that is one example. You don't have to do that. Suppose this virtual machine is another host, and this is another host. That is also okay for load balancing. But suppose the two virtual machines staying together gives better performance in terms of end users there. So if end users are connecting, right? So if the machines are on the same host, suppose it's a file server, FS, right? FS here, or web server, WS, web server here, web server here. So they will get, they will be side by side together, giving the same performance. So maybe in load balancing environment, you can use that, or any other the two servers that really need to be together. Sometimes the applications, if the virtual machine is on another host, and now this host may be giving, lesser CPU and RAM, while this host is giving higher CPU and RAM. In that case, the end user experience will be different while they're connecting to through the load balancing to the exact same application. So if these two virtual machines are on the same host, all end users connecting to the application installed on top of it will have the same type of speed. CPU and processing would be the same, right? The user experience will be the same. They will not be saying, "Oh, I'm fast," and while the other user say accessing the same application, he or she's slow, right? So VM to VM affinity is, you can just use it for this particular scenario, right? So if we go for VM to VM anti affinity, so VM to VM anti affinity, what is the rule for that? VM to VM affinity, anti affinity is that the two VMs cannot be together on the same host. Okay, is that doable, and why, on what kind of machines we should do this on, right? So again the question comes in that how would you go for anti-affinity there? Anyone give an example? Oh, there you go. So Deepshika gives the example right away. Yes, anti-affinity is clearer that it requires, it's the fault tolerance exactly, it's the active passive machine. So you must configure active, because you know that the machines might be v-motioned. So the two machines, one is active, one is passive, must not be gathered up or combined on the same host. One is active and the other is passive. So in that case, definitely whenever DRS, fully automated and aggressive mode, decides that, oh, this machine is having degraded performance, or active machine, and I see that E6I03 actually has a lot of CPU and RAM, and then it sees it's about to migrate, and it checks that, oh, there's a VM to VM anti-affinity rule. So, and it's passive with actually on E6I3, so I cannot move it right away. If you don't have that rule, then it would have migrated this active machine to the passive on the same host where it's not supposed to be. Okay, Safe says if the VMs are providing the same service and we need redundancy. Yes, it could be that too. So if the VMs are providing same service, but we need redundancy as well, so you can put one VM on one host and the other VM on another host. That is also used for load balancing as well. That both the machines are actually active machines, and in that case, load balancing is going on. But you're sure that every host is fully equipped with a lot of CPU and RAM, and performance issue may not be that big a deal. So yes, otherwise yes, also about active passive, that's where you have to use the VM to VM anti-affinity rule for the two virtual machines to always stay to separate on a separate hosts. Then what about the VM to host affinity? What example would you have in mind that this virtual machine, a particular virtual machine, must stay on a particular host? What kind of scenario is that comes to your mind that you would go for, okay, this machine has to be on this host, otherwise there will be an issue. Okay, so the Deepshika says if any VM is using local data store. Okay, that is one scenario. Suppose that virtual machine does not need to be on LONs or logical unit numbers or shared disk, which is not a very, like maybe this is one thing that hey, this has to be on this host. Any other reason that VM must not leave a particular host, right? So what else could be there? Hey, why this crossed out here? So this VM, suppose, must not leave E6I1. Why? Can you think of any other reason as well? There is one reason there. Maybe it's using IPs. Well, if this virtual machine moves to another hypervisor, the IP will still remain the same. IPS, okay, intrusion prevention system, or is it IP address? IPs. So, well, any other reason that this machine must stay on this physical host? IP address. Oh, okay. No, IP address stays the same even if it moves, because it's in the same environment. It can move to hundreds of hosts, and the IP address will never change. Cluster master. So master and slave is actually the physical host, right? So E6I1 may be the master and E6I2 may be the slave, but these are physical servers or hypervisor. Physical, they are installed on the hypervisor. Hypervisors never migrate, right? The virtual machines on top of the hypervisor migrate. So there is no master VM there. Okay, compatibility. Okay, that could be one reason compatibility. Now this, suppose this virtual machine here is running an application that is compatible with the CPU, very powerful CPU, and especially we normally mention GPU, right? Graphics processing unit, right? If this particular host has a GPU processor, it supports graphics cards, and it supports all the graphic processing unit requirements for this application. Suppose this application is AutoCAD, this is Photoshop, or it's actually going for blockchain, right? You guys should dig out what is blockchain, because that's really in the market. So blockchain and cryptocurrency, if you're running those software that really requires a lot of GPU, then and suppose in your environment only ESXi hypervisor is offering GPU, you don't have any other hypervisor that actually supports GPU. So in that case, this machine, virtual machine, DRS, this machine better not leave this hypervisor. If DRS, if you did not put the rule, and DRS for performance reason of CPU and memory only, it migrates the machine, vMotions the machine into another hypervisor which does not supports GPU physically, then your blockchain applications and your cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and others, Bitcoin, which is now $18,000. One Bitcoin is $18,000 now, right? Those who were making Bitcoins last decade, they must be millionaires now. So anyway, any one of you have a Bitcoin, then let me know. I'll be your best friend from now on. Okay, just kidding. So anyway, blockchain here, or a cryptocurrency here. So it needs a graphics processing unit. So this would be the main requirement. Any physical hardware that the hypervisor is. Suppose an application requires a lot of CPU and RAM, and you have newly purchased E6i2 or E6i3, and only these two guys, these two hypervisors or E6i hosts support a lot of CPU and RAM. So you might want to put a rule there that, okay, this virtual machine can be migrated either to E6i2 or E6i3, then that's it. No other hypervisor. So you can do that too, right? So we get that there is that requirement. And then what about the fourth one? VM to host anti-affinity. What scenario? So that could be the opposite of the previous scenario. What is a scenario where you don't want a VM to be migrated to another particular host, or to one particular host? Hey, whatever happens, DRS, you don't put this VM on that host. In what scenario you would do that to a VM, right? So that could be very clear. The previous example could be used here as well, that for the same reason that the VM must not leave that host, for that same reason the VM must not be put on another host. Suppose you have multiple hosts that have GPUs, graphical processing unit, so you don't have to put a rule, affinity rule for that machine. You can put an anti-affinity rule as well. Suppose you have majority of the hypervisor hosts as supporting the GPU as well, but you have very few that do not have GPU. So you can actually put an anti-affinity rule of those hosts that do not have GPU. In that case, you don't have to put then the affinity rule for those machines, because pretty much all the other hypervisors support GPU, but very few you can put anti-affinity for that. That this particular VMs or these VMs cannot be on this host number 3, host number 6, host number 22, host number 55, suppose. But on any other host, yes, you're okay. So anti-affinity would be that you will just make sure that the hosts are always on the right, the virtual machines are on the right host, and virtual machines cannot be on the wrong host. So we get that the affinity rules, there are two VMs must be together, two VMs must not be together, one VM, VMs can be on a particular host and VMs cannot be on a particular host. So Deepika says NAS will be applicable to any of these rules. NAS. So network attached storage. NAS is a cheaper storage than SAN, storage area network, right? And NAS based data stores normally are available. Now suppose you go to Best Buy or Canada Computers there, and you buy an enclosure of 4 disks, 8 disks, 20 disks there, suppose, right? So you attach it on a network. you create a data store on top of that NAS device. Suppose you purchase a NAS device and then you create a data store on top of that NAS device. So the virtual machines can be migrated to and from this data store. Uh, Now, anti-affinity rule can be applied to the hosts, because we're going to go now to the anti-affinity rule and affinity rules, and you will see that the affinity and anti-affinity rules, either you can add virtual machines or you can add hosts, but it does not let you add anything other than that. You can group together virtual machines or single virtual machines. You can group together hosts or just a single host, but it does not give you the option of adding a NAS device or a SAN device. So no, we cannot add NAS there. And if it's data store, add it in the line in the teams of data store. Yes, DRS can vMotion to and from this machine, but NAS cannot be added as, hey, this virtual machine should not be on NAS, or that virtual machine. You can only add hosts and virtual machines. So it does not apply on NAS, because you cannot select NAS there. There's no option there. We're about to do that, and you're going to see that. So guys, hopefully we understand that what is affinity rules, what are affinity rules, and I'll copy this, and obviously in your final exam, the most very horrible final exam, I'll try to put these questions there as well. Oh, where am I? Oh, why am I here? Okay, I'll just close that. Yeah, here. Okay. Alright guys, so let us go ahead, and I'm just going to go to the machine here, and in that machine I will go to my vCenter, and on this vCenter we last talked about this VM overrides, and there will be a question for that too, hopefully, I guess, maybe, but I'll try to make it as horrible as possible. So yeah, just kidding. And I'll try to log in because I unsuspended the machines, and I'll go for administrator at vSphere. So the main thing is, are you ready for the job? Do you have those skills that will be asked in the interview? Why? Just ask yourself, why should they give you 45 per hour job and should trust you with their millions of dollars of investment on their hardware and the cloud technologies that they buy? So you have to prove to them that you have all those skills, you have all those certifications, your concepts are clear, you have done those labs a number of times. It's all your confidence, correct answers that really will get you a better job sooner. Try to gain more experience in Canadian market. You can start with level 1 jobs if you haven't done any job here, IT job especially. Okay guys, first of all, if we are here, so I'll just go to this. I have clicked on Tor cluster and on summary, and it's slightly imbalanced, but it's okay. And second thing is, I'll just make sure that all machines are powered off, right? My all machines are actually powered on because we were testing DRS fully automation, full aggression mode. So I'm going to power off all the machines, and then, so if I go to Tor cluster and then go to VMs here, right? Tor cluster and then VMs on the right side. So all the VMs are here. Can I select all VMs? If I select the first one here, not on top of that, but on the other side, and then press the tab, the shift button, and then press the last one. So all VMs are selected. So once you select all the VMs, and I'm gonna just press this stop button here, shutdown button, this one, right?
Amir, sorry, I just have two machines. Is that okay? Because it was balanced, so I didn't add any machine. So it's fine?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Or we'll go to action. So it doesn't shut down, then we're gonna go for power and power off. So just you can go to actions here and go to power and power off all four, or just power off one by one, right? So if they're powered on, so I'll just power them all off, so I could grab some extra RAM there in the background that is being used. And all machines are off now, or you can turn them off one by one as well. And second thing is that I'll just close this left side library here, and I will put this full control full screen here, right? Okay, once I put the full screen here, and then I'm on Tor cluster here, and once you well, you're still clicked with Tor cluster, so go to configure, so Tor cluster and configure. Once you click configure, so there you see that all the options are there, and services are there, vSAN is there, configuration is there. So I'm just gonna go down here, down until I see VM host groups and VM host rules. So Tor cluster, configure, and then VM/host groups and VM/host rules, which is you have to just go down a bit, right? So if I click that VM host groups here, VM/host and groups, so there what we see is that you can create groups here. Now what is this? So you can make a group of virtual machines, and you can make a group of hosts, ESXi hosts, right? So and what with that, so I'm going to show you later that where you can use the groups. Right now we don't have a lot of virtual machines there. If you have 4 virtual machines, that's good. Otherwise with 2 virtual machines also it works fine. So I'm just going to click that add button here. After selecting the VM and host groups, I'm going to click the add button, and in VM groups it just lets you create either a group of virtual machines that requires some kind of same configurations, and a group of hosts here, right? So VM group is already selected, right? So Sylvester says that, Prof, I'm not feeling I will leave and watch. Sure, Sylvester, and hope you get well soon. Is the session being recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. Okay, and also try not to eat samosas and jalebis and dahi vada and all. Just kidding. Okay, so no, just kidding, and please get well soon. Okay, so here I'm just gonna put the name here, the VM groups. So suppose it's sales VMs, right? Sales dash VMs, and then dash your first name, right? Okay, so sales dash VMs dash your first name, right? And then you can click the add button. So again, it's just for creating groups. Where do we use that? I'm going to show you later. I'm going to click that add button here, and pretend that this is a group of machines that you're selecting. Just select one of the machines and just press OK. Suppose you have 200 machines there, and some machines need to be grouped together because of their same requirements. So one more thing that I want to mention, that we're creating groups because hosts and VM groups. Why? Because we're going to use it for VM to host affinity and VM to host anti-affinity rules. So VMs and these will be used there. VM to host affinity and VM to host anti-affinity rules. So if you don't have enough VMs there, you can just go for one as well. I'm just going to select one here and pretend that it's a group of machines, right? So I'm just going to press O and K. So suppose we selected for 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever, and press O and K again. So first group is created. So then we go again and click the add button, because we created a group of virtual machines. Now we need to create a group of hosts or hypervisors or ESXi hosts as well. I'm going to click the add button again, and I'm going to select the type. This time I'm selecting host group, right? And then we can go for sales DEPT dash hosts, sales department hosts dash your first name, right? All right. So once we create that sales department hosts and your first name, then click the add button, and it just gives us a list of hosts. Suppose we have a lot of hosts. I'm just going to select one, right, and press O and K. So one host is added there, host group is selected. Suppose we added here 3 or 4 hosts, and you're going to see that how they're used for VM to host affinity and anti-affinity rules. I'm just going to press OK now. So one virtual machine group created, one host group created, or this is the way we can create groups. But then let's go down to the action area. That's where the action will be VM host rules under the VM host groups. So let's click VM host rules, right? So when we click the VM host rules here, so there is that add button, and so there's keep. Now you can see all the other rules there. Keep virtual machines together, separate virtual machines to hosts, virtual machines to virtual machines. So the fourth one we haven't discussed yet, but this is all about ordering of virtual machines, that in which order you want to start or stop the virtual machines. But when we reach there, we're going to talk about it. First of all, it is keep virtual machines together. So this is a VM to VM affinity rule, right? So VM dash to dash VM dash affinity dash rule dash your first name dash Toronto dash Ontario dash Canada dash planet Earth. Okay, just kidding. So here VM to VM affinity rule and keep virtual machines together. Wow, I'm so putting those syllables. Okay, so VM to VM affinity rules, and I'm gonna click add. Now once you click add, you can choose the virtual machines that need to stay together on the same host. So I'm just gonna click the add button here. While so you can see that now you can choose one by one, but you don't see those groups here, right, that we just created before. Obviously those groups will be used when you go for VM to host affinity, but this is VM to VM affinity, right? So suppose we say that, okay, these two machines will stay together. Now those who have 4 machines or 6 machines, they're okay. If you have just 2 machines, then don't select that now, because we need to actually go for the lab for VM to VM anti-affinity rule. That's where you can select both machines. Here you can select just one machine as well, but if they let you, or don't create that, or create more machines. Okay, so 2 machines are added there, that these guys must be together wherever they're vMotioned. So that's how we configure keep virtual machines together, VM to VM affinity rule. I'm going to press O and K. Then I'm going to create another rule, that is VM to VM anti-affinity, right? So when you do put DRS on fully automated and aggressive mode, or even when you don't put it there and you have to migrate it yourself, vMotion yourself, these rules must be in place already, right? So I'm going to click that add again to go for the next one, that is VM to VM dash to dash, I should have copied it, VM dash anti-affinity affinity dash rule dash your first name. So VM to VM anti-affinity rule. And there, obviously, we're going to go drop down the list and we're going to select the separate virtual machines. So that's the opposite of what we selected before. Now the 2 machines better not be together. Now this is the one that we're actually going to test as well, right? So that's why I'm just going to say that go ahead and select the other 2 machines. I'm just selecting the other 2, or if you have just 2, you can just select those 2 now. And press O and K. How we're going to test that? It says the machines better be separate. So I'm going to make sure that both machines are on the same host. After creating that rule, or after going through all the rules, then we're going to test that, okay, these 2 machines are supposed to be separate. I'm going to migrate them, vMotion them on the same host. And then I'm going to leave it at that and let the DRS do its magic. So after some time you will see that the machine has been automatically migrated. One of the machines has been migrated to another host, right? So I'm going to press O and K now. Ready? Okay, one more thing, guys, that I remembered, and that is admission control still on? Okay, so orange shows an error. Maybe others also see that. So it's DRS rule is in conflict with existing DRS rules in the cluster. It will be disabled. The rule can be enabled manually when the conflicts are resolved. Okay, so there is some DRS rule that is actually in conflict with that. So Orang, if you have selected these two machines to be together, then you cannot select these two machines also to be separate. So previous rule might be in conflict with this rule, right? Okay.
What should I do in this case? Because already I have two machines, and one time I put both together, and later on I cannot separate. So for the second, for separate, what should I do?
Yeah, so
Should I add? Should I add two more machines?
Well, you can cancel this one and go to the previous rule and delete it. We don't need the previous rule. We just know how to create that rule, but we don't need it. So you can delete that now, so it could not be in conflict with this rule.
Okay.
And I'll show you how to delete. Just select it and select the delete button. So suppose those who just have two machines, I would suggest that we don't need the first rule to test. We can test the first rule, or we can test the second rule. I chose that we can test the second rule. So the first rule you can select like this, and there's a delete button here. So go ahead and delete that, those who have just two machines. So you can select and delete and press yes, and first rule should be gone. Then just create a second rule. Alright, then we're gonna go for the third type of rule, and that is the VM2 host affinity. So how is that configured? So let's click the add button the third time now, and once we click the add button the third time, now in the type we can select virtual machine to hosts, right? Virtual machines to hosts. So that's VM2 host affinity and anti-affinity. It's going to show here, and you're going to see here VM groups and host groups. Okay, so Zeb says in the chat, this rule will override the migration policy from before. Yeah, if you're talking about that, you mean this exact rule, like the host rule that we are about to configure, or the previous two rules? Previous two rules, the same machines should not be in both rules selected. Otherwise, yeah.
Sorry, no, I'm talking about the rules we've already created in the last class. You know, the migration, the one with the balance and everything.
Oh, balancing will make sure that if the machines are supposed to be together or supposed to be not together, so there's no conflict between this configuration and that configuration is all about just migrating. That's it.
We chose that the balance should keep two machines on each host. Okay, and now we are telling him that three machines cannot be, or three machines will be together, and one machine will be cannot be with the third one. So the fourth cannot be the third one, the VMs.
You're right about
so
that.
That's what I'm talking about.
So
yeah.
Yes, DRS will not be able to balance then if we put these rules here.
Right.
So that's a very good point. And suppose we did say that, hey, two machines stay together, and those two machines actually require also, suppose 128 GB RAM each. That's a huge RAM, right? Or 64 GB RAM each. So these are heavy machines, and then we put this rule affinity that they should be together, and they require a lot of CPU and RAM for their running. So then yes, DRS may not be able to then fully be able to balance the whole environment. It will always be slightly imbalanced, or whatever it can do to balance it, however nearest it can go, but not fully. It won't be able to do that. Okay, so here name, and now we can go for VM-2-host-affinity and dash your first name. So VM2 host affinity, VM2 host anti-affinity, this is going to be a bit easier for you now because first of all, whatever VM group we selected, we created, that is showing here, right? Suppose you had created multiple VM groups, they would all be showing here, which we selected here. And this is what we need to understand, that should run on hosts in group. So these VMs in sales VMs are your first name, should run on hosts in this sales department host where we just added E6A1, right? So either should run or must run. Anyone knows what's the difference between should and must other than the spelling difference? So what is the difference between the should and must? What's the difference between should and must?
So it must. You have to do that. But should, it's so you can do or you cannot.
exactly as you said. So must is mandatory. You can't go anywhere else, exactly as others also said on the chat. And should is probable, exactly as Memel says, and Eris and Safe says. So should is okay. Try your best, and if you're able to do that, go ahead. Otherwise, choose some other host. That's should. And must is no. You have to move it there, or don't move at all. So that's must, right? So must you can go for if you definitely only have that other host, and if that other host also does not have enough CPU and RAM, and this one that you're on is also not having enough CPU and RAM. So DRS just checks that, hey, does that other host have slightly more than that, and or do I have another host? It must means that no, just go to this group only. So whatever the group is, this one, right? So these VMs must. Right now it should. So try your best. But if those hosts also are full with other virtual machines, then go for some other host as well. So that's by default, but you can go for must as well. And must not run on host and should not run on host. So that's exactly opposite of that. That is it mandatory or is it an optional thing? So we understand that VM2 host affinity and anti-affinity can be chosen from these options, right? So we don't have to actually create VM2 host anti-affinity as well, because we get the idea very clearly that okay, in the next turn, when you create a anti-affinity rule, you just choose one of the two bottom options here, right? So well, that's we can just create a VM2 host affinity, and remember that which VM. I think yeah, in my case I put VM1 there, while for the previous rule VM2 VM anti-affinity I chose VM3 and 4, right? So this is okay. Suppose you only had two VMs and you selected VM1 here, which is also okay. It's not in conflict with the other one, right? So just remember that when we're doing the test, whichever VM is in the sales VMs group, that is we're not going to migrate that. We're going to migrate away the other one when we're testing the anti-affinity rule. So I'm just going to press OK here. So that's how we create VM to host affinity, and the other way is just click add again and create an anti-affinity. We don't have a lot of hosts and VMs here, so that's why. And hopefully you understand that. But there's another rule here that we did not discuss till now, and I'm going to go again, press the add button. So that add button is, and we go down to this virtual machines to virtual machines. So what is that? If we select that virtual machines to virtual machine here, so it just says first restart VMs in this group, then restart VMs in the other group, right? So it's all about the restart priority. So, and that is called virtual machines to virtual machines, and which virtual machine group should restart first in case of a disaster, and which virtual machine group should restart second, right? So we didn't create any other group, but you could have just put that other group here as well. So the main thing is if you understand the purpose, right? So we don't have to create that, and click cancel. Okay, so what we need to do is that we need to test this anti-affinity rule, right? In order to remove all the confusion and any possible misconfiguration and to avoid any conflicts there, keep that anti-affinity rule up here while we understand why we create, how to create the rules. If you understand that, I'm sure you do now. So we don't need the first rule, which is affinity rule, and the last rule, which is VM2 host affinity, because we now need to test the anti-affinity rule where two machines must not stay on the same host, right? And we're going to actually put them on the same host and then leave it to DRS to decide that later. So what I suggest is keep the anti-affinity rule there and go for the first one. If you haven't deleted it yet, then delete it now. If you have already deleted that, it's okay. So I'm going to select the first rule. I don't need it anymore, but we do understand what it was for, right? So I don't need it anymore. So in order to avoid possible conflicts on your side, I'm going to select this and delete it. So I'm going to click the delete only the affinity rule first, and I'm going to press yes. And then I'm going to go for the last rule. VM to host affinity, select that. I don't need that too. And I'm going to click delete because we understand the purpose of that, just to avoid some conflicts. Delete the last one, VM to host affinity rule as well. But you do understand that what is the significance of these rules, and in the production environment where there are lots of virtual machines and hosts, you have to then make sure that you have these rules in place, and when the virtual machines do start getting moved or vMotioned by DRS or by you, that they are following these rules. These rules should be there to be followed. Okay, VM to VM anti-affinity rule is there, and if you've selected it, you can see down there which virtual machines are there. Yeah.
Sorry to
No
interrupt.
problem.
When you created the VM host groups, did you select any ESXi?
VM
When you
to host.
created the sales,
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
do
when you
that.
created the sales dash VMs dash Amir or dash edes, did you select any
Yes,
ESXi for it?
I selected this. This is the sales
Okay,
department host group for the host group. If you're talking about.
you selected the ESXi one.
Yeah.
No, but for the VMs, not the host, for the
Oh yeah.
one above.
Sales VMs, I selected
Okay,
just one.
okay, that's fine. Thank you.
So since we deleted the rule, so these groups right now do not matter because we deleted the rules where these groups were being used. So now these groups are just harmless and they're not doing anything. So here, now if you have that rule already for VM to VM anti-affinity, and it says here the listed two virtual machine must not run, must run on different hosts. Okay, same thing, must run on different hosts, right? So if that is the case, then now we need to test it. But before testing, there is one question that I asked before as well. Is our admission control still working? Oh, what is admission control? Anyone has any remote idea about what is admission control? Okay, hint number one is admission control is part of HA, high availability, right? Anyone knows what is the purpose of admission control? So you control the admissions. Suppose somebody admits, hey, I did that task, and somebody wants to admit a lot of other things, then you say, oh, I'm controlling your admissions. Just kidding. No, it's not that. Admission control is inside HA, but anyone has any idea what is admission control? What does it do?
So, from the previous class, you said it's the policy used by vCenter HA to ensure failover capacity with a cluster, blah blah, like that. Correct?
Cluster, blah, blah?
Yeah, with a cluster. To if, it makes sure about capacity with a cluster, something like that.
Exactly.
Is correct?
Capacity
Yeah.
reservation. So
Okay.
the magic word
Right,
would be
that's-
capacity reservation. Exactly. So thank you. And well, Safe says the initial startup for VMs. No. So capacity reservation is, guys, admission control equals capacity reservation. Remember that for the interview as well. And I actually put that together as well when I was explaining the admission control. So HA admission control equals capacity reservation. Now what is okay, so capacity reservation, what is that? It's reserving the CPU and memory capacity in all hosts, hypervisor hosts, ESXi hosts, in order to tolerate the loss of one host. In order to tolerate the loss of one host. Oh, what does that mean? You reserve the CPU and RAM. Okay, 10%, 20% of CPU and RAM. Hey, every host. Suppose we have here two hosts, right? Suppose an environment has 10 hosts, 10 ESXi servers, ESXi 1, 2, 3 up to ESXi 10. So you put admission control, puts that, tells every host, hey, 10 hosts, from now on you cannot use 20% of your CPU and RAM. And the hosts, they all ask together, Why not? And the admission control says if one of you goes down, the virtual machines that you're hosting, that host is hosting, should be divided among all the other hosts. So you should have enough CPU and RAM available for the virtual machines to be placed on you from a crashed host. So our environment should be able to tolerate the loss of one host and distribute its VMs, virtual machines, to all the other hosts. So that's why from now on we're not going to use 20% of CPU and RAM. So all the hosts, if they reach the 80% of the CPU and RAM of what they have local hardware, then they cannot be allowed to use more than that. So then the DRS has to vMotion them to another host that may have used up only 40% of the CPU and RAM, or 50%, and still 30% is remaining. So DRS can then do the rest of the job. So admission control, always remember that it is going to let you be prepared for a disaster, or at least let you be prepared for the loss of at least one host. Okay, so if we know that, then is admission control right now configured? And we do not want this to be configured. Oh, why? Because we have a very small environment already. We already are suffering from very less RAM available. So right now, if admission control in our HA is enabled, what it is already doing is it is not letting you use more than half of the capacity. It is already preparing us to tolerate the loss of one host. This means that if you have 4 GB RAM here, 4 GB RAM here, so it's going to let you use a total in the cluster 4 GB RAM, and the other 4 GB RAM it has stopped, and it's saying that, hey, you can't use that because if your one host goes down, I'm just making sure that the virtual machines of that downed host would be able to start on the other host. So when you have in this kind of environment admission control open, so we even cannot use the poor amount of RAM that we have already. So we need every inch of RAM that we got. So we're gonna disable our admission control for this particular environment. Otherwise, in production environments, admission control is your job saver, right? So whenever the disaster strikes and it does not it does not inform us, it does not say, do a knock knock knock, hey, I'm coming, I'm the disaster. So it just strikes right away, right? So were you prepared? So admission control must never be disabled. In our environment, we must disable it because we don't have a lot of CPU and RAM to be put on reserve, right? So for that purpose, before we test this VM to VM affinity, anti-affinity, let's go to the Tor cluster. In fact, we are there, and to the configure, we are there as well. Let's just go up, up, up slightly, up, 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 until you see this. Admission control lives inside the HA, or vSphere availability, right? So let's click that vSphere availability and go inside and disable admission control. And this way we will free up some more RAM and CPU for our already very limited environment, right? Okay, so once you're in vSphere availability, let's click the edit button on the right side. Edit, 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 right? And then we go to, there's the admission control. Hopefully everyone's seeing that, those who are following. So admission control, and yes, it is actually enabled, and we can define host failover capacity by cluster resource percentage. We need to drop down this one, and there's a disable button as well. Hey, don't reserve CPU and RAM. In our environment, we already have very less of that, right? So this is your screenshot number one. Okay, yeah. Take a screenshot here, take a screenshot here. Hopefully your name is showing on the left or right side here. So take a screenshot of the screen. I'll put that first screenshot here. Sample screenshot from my side. I hope you're not using my picture with my name there in your screenshots when you're uploading. If you're doing that, it's 0. But the other main thing is be prepared for the interview. Repeat the labs again and again. You're going to be asked about these features in the interview, so be prepared for the job. Okay, so screenshot number 1. Screenshot 1. Title of the screenshot is Admission Control Disabled. Title of the screenshot is Admission Control Disabled. And I'm gonna put Control V here. Yay! Okay, so title of the screenshot is Z's. So hopefully you have okay, screenshot 1, admission control disabled. I'll put it on WhatsApp as well. All right, so let us go ahead, and once this is disabled, press O and K. Okay, checking shows that it's still loading. Yes, it's our limited hardware. It can just go on strike on any occasion for anyone at any time. It just strikes, and we have very less RAM and CPU available. So if you're on that, you can just take a screenshot of this one and put it on your document and explain that, okay, hey teach, this was going on, hey prof, this was going on. So yeah, you can just put that screenshot instead on the when you're taking a screenshot. And we all understand the limitation of our hardware resources. Okay, so here now, since that affinity rule is there and admission control is gone. Okay, so the Deepshika says they are checking that she reloaded the Chrome and logged in again. So please try that as well. Okay, guys. So how to test that machine? So since we have removed or disabled the admission control, we're back here, and I'm gonna refresh this browser here. I'm gonna refresh this, right? So just click that refresh once, and once this refresh is clicked, then I'm going to check that. So in my case, I put VM3 and 4 on the same host, right? So I'm going to first check that are they on the same host. So they are actually on that rule. Sorry, if I just take you to the rule, in that rule, the VM3 and 4 must run on different hosts. This is the rule, anti-affinity rule. 3 or 4 better not be on the same host. They must run on different hosts. So what I'm going to do is, and what you should be doing, that put that those two machines on the same host and then leave it there, and check that if DRS actually realizes that, oh, they are supposed to be on different hosts, and it will later you will find that automatically one of the machines has gone or been vMotioned to another host automatically. So first of all, I'm going to check that are they on different hosts or are they on the same host. So I'm going to check the VM03. I'm going to click on top of VM03 here and click the summary tab on the right side. Machine, click on top of that, summary tab. So I see that it is on ESXi1 in my case. If I go for VM04 here and a summary, then it is on ESXi2. They are already on different hosts. Okay, that's not good. So so they are following the anti-affinity rule already, which I need to change. So guys, this can only happen when obviously they are powered on, so DRS can vMotion them, right? So first of all, power on these two machines. That's the first thing. Second thing is put migrate or vMotion any one of them to the other's host. So these are the two things we need to do. I'm going to go to VM03, right click on top of VM03, power on. I'm going to go to VM04, right click on top of VM04 and power on. These two machines I meant put that in the anti-affinity rule, right? So both machines have been powered on. Okay. Oh, okay. So you can just sign out and sign in again. Sign out is here, administrator. You can click here and then here, right? Check in here and here. Okay, so so these two machines are started. I need them to be on the same host. I'll actually put them on the same host, and then we can leave it. So my VM03 is on ESXi1. My VM04 is on ESXi2. So I'll migrate. I'll vMotion VM03 to ESXi1 as well. Okay, so Deepshika says mine both machines are in same host. Okay, and if your anti-infinity rule is there, then leave them as is, but just power them on. And after powering on, check again if during power on did DRS do the placement. I hope we all remember what is placement. When the machine is off and it is about to turn on, so DRS checks that which is the best host for it, and it might, when you're powering on the machine, it might change that host at that time. So make sure that the two, after powering on, the two virtual machines are on the same host. If they are, and your anti-infinity rule is correctly configured, yes, then just leave them as is and wait for the magic to happen. Okay, Safe says the DRS is doing the separation of VMs. Okay. Oh yes, DRS did the placement. Okay, so placement is there. So I'm just gonna move that VM3 is on ESXi1, VM4 is on ESXi2. I'm gonna vMotion VM3 also to ESXi2 now. So VM03, I'm just gonna right click and migrate. I'm gonna migrate it to that host where VM04 already is there, right? So change compute resource only. I'm gonna click next. And I'll select ESXi2 and next, because that's where VM04 is also living. And next, that's it. Next, finish, right? We've done.
Sorry, Amir, what did you do?
So
Can you just one step go back? It's okay.
Oh, VM03 was on other host and 4 is on other host, right? So I'm just putting 3 on that host where the 4 is. So I have right clicked on that and migrate this one.
Okay.
And then change compute resource only, this one, the top one, and next. And then I know that my current machine is on ESXi1, so I need to select ESXi2 now, where I want it to go. And next, finish, that's it. So once we click next, finito, and there is the finito here. And my machine should be, it is also on ESXi2. If I go for VM04, it is also on ESXi2. Okay, now I'm gonna just leave them as is and let the DRS do the magic. Whenever it's about to vMotion, it should just see that. Okay, Safe says in the chat, how do we know if the anti-infinity rule will separate the machines or the DRS? No, DRS should do the migration. DRS analyzes every 5 minutes, right, what is going on, and it checks the anti-infinity rule or affinity rule as well every 5 minutes, and it takes action according to that rule as well. So if it is against the rule, then it's going to act on. Oh, then yes, balancing again will be secondary. Then the machines have to be either separate or if the anti-infinity rule is there, then balancing becomes secondary, and anti-infinity rule or affinity rule becomes the primary objective then. So yeah, the anti-infinity will kick first, exactly. Okay, so there is that screenshot here. Incorrect destination network is selected. Review the compatibility. And the previous screenshot is currently connected interface. Network adapter 1 uses network VM department which is not accessible. Oh, virtual switch 0, 1 VM, 1 network adapter. So you can go back, Orang, and check it out. Share the screenshot of the host. Which host did you select? Oh, hey, somebody's yawning. Oh, okay, so now you know what? When somebody yawns, then I yawn too. So it's a psychological effect. So I am having that big yawn now. No, it's all that person's fault who just yawned on the mic. Okay, so let's go ahead and okay, what happened here? Yeah, I'm good. So in terms of the migration, nothing happens. I'm just going to refresh that. While it may not happen right away, that the migration should happen. If I go to ESXi3, it's still on ESXi2, and VM04 is also on ESXi2. So both are on ESXi2. Whenever it kicks in the DRS, then it will just put it back to well, it will follow the anti-infinity rules there, right? So you can just try to migrate again, and try another machine this time to migrate to a different host.
So Amir, should I put both the virtual machine to EXI2 or
Yeah, whichever.
in?
ESXi2, if you were doing that on ESXi2 before, then just go for the other machine to ESXi1. Do the opposite of what you were doing before. So you could avoid that. Although it said that there was something wrong with the network or virtual switch. So if that persists, then in the break or at the end of the class, check. Okay, so guys, here, something happened. Oh, you can see automatically the VM03 has been vMotioned back to ESXi1. Yay, it happened. Woohoo. Okay, so as it says, mine is moved to different host. Okay, done, and save says done. So yep, it works fine. Anti-infinity works fine. So oh, it's the HM says done as well. Very good. So Tor cluster, that's the same log here. Safe says that where is the proof here. So Tor cluster, and then you can go for a monitor, and since DRS did that, but if you go to Tor cluster, monitor, vSphere DRS, and then history, so it just, yes, that's the proof that it moved, but where's the proof that because of anti-infinity it did that? That may be the question you're asking. Where can we check this log? So as far as the monitoring is concerned, and the virtual machine was moved, but was it because of, actually it's the placement. Oh, migrate, this is the one. Migrate VM03 from ESXi2 to ESXi1. This has just happened, and but did it do it for anti-infinity rule? Then we have to dig down into the events here. So if I go to home button here, and then there are events and tasks. This is an area where you can take down all the log files and check that if anti-infinity caused it, if the DRS followed anti-infinity rules here. But if it has been migrated away, it's the anti-infinity rule that it has to check and then migrate. But you can just take it out here as well, tasks and events. So okay guys, that's anti-infinity. We tested that as well. So what you can do is vSphere DRS. So what you can do is that you can come actually here, Tor cluster, monitor, vSphere DRS, come here again, and this is screenshot number 2, that this should be showing migrate VM0, whichever your VM did that, this should be showing there. So just go to Tor cluster, monitor, vSphere DRS, and history, and this is your screenshot 2. Tor cluster, monitor, vSphere DRS, history, and this is your screenshot 2. So I'll take a sample screenshot here with my name there, and I'll put it. So you can just title the screenshot as anti-infinity rule works. title the screenshot as anti-affinity rule works. Screenshot to anti-affinity rule works. And I'll put it there in WhatsApp. Screenshot to anti-affinity rules work. All right. So let's go back and then talk about the fault tolerance, the next topic. And in the next topic, that's also a sensitive one. So fault tolerance. Okay. So the fault tolerance, I'll just open the slide for that. So this is active and passive, or failing over. Normally the machines here are called, active machine is called primary and passive machine is called secondary. So but how does it all work, and what are the step-by-step process there? So we're going to check it out now. So introduction to vSphere fault tolerance. Okay, and I had put some slides there. Okay, so fault tolerance we talked about before as well, that it offers zero downtime, zero data loss, and no loss of TCP connections as well. So what does that mean? And we talked about that diagram before as well, that fault tolerance, if the VM or host crashes, who wrote that? Obviously me. So crashes, then FT failover fails over the VM service to the partner VM, no downtime, no data loss. FT is only configured for critical VMs. FT is configured on VM level as well. Do we have this PP in Blackboard as well? All the PowerPoint slides, guys, are on Blackboard here. And if you go down here in the Blackboard here, you can see learning materials, right? So if you click the learning materials, so all the slides are here. So hopefully you all see that learning materials here in the Blackboard. So just you can download all the slides there, and you're welcome. And let's go down to fault tolerance. So that is really interesting feature here, that you have two virtual machines, and we have two hosts here obviously, and there we can easily test this. If I go to another paintbrush and go for that diagram again. Okay, so in fault tolerance, what happens is that you have one active machine, and that is called primary machine as well, and it's whichever is the critical machine you have identified, your boss has identified that, hey, this is a critical machine, can you please configure FT on that? So you choose the machine first, whichever is the critical one. Second thing is that you decide to create an exact copy of that on another host, and its virtual disk copy on another data store. So now this this virtual machine is on ESXi1, so its partner VM obviously will be on ESXi2. That's the first thing. Second thing is that virtual machine's virtual disk will be on a second data store as well. So, but these guys will be in constant communication with each other. So this is active, but in VMware term, it is called primary VM, right? And this is passive or standby. In VM term, it is called secondary VM. So passive slash standby slash secondary VM, right? So primary VM, secondary VM. So that's one thing. And second thing is that the primary VM, there should be no SPOF here, right? So there should be no SPOF. Anyone knows what's a SPOF? With the primary and secondary VMs, there must not be any SPOF. Anyone knows what's a SPOF? S-P-O-F. Oh, nobody knows what's a SPOF? You're a kid, Dingamy. What are you saying? You don't know what is a SPOF? That is not good. Oh, okay. So, yes, that's it. Single point, that's it. What is off then? Off failure, okay. Hey, that was in 2 chats. That's very good. So, single point of failure, exactly. You know, by this time I would have Googled it already. But yes, you know it, and that's very good. So, single point of failure. And what does that mean? Okay. Oh, actually, anyone knows what does that mean? So, if the boss says, hey, well done configuration, but whoa, wait a minute, you have a SPOF here. What does that mean, actually? Anyone ever knew that? Or knows it? That electricity is single point of failure for Canada. Okay, there you go. So electricity is single point of failure because there is no redundancy, right? So if you have here a lot of hypervisors and but you have just one source of electricity or one source of network, suppose you have just one switch here, right? So one point, if failed, there is no plan for B for it. Okay, there you go. Manur said it. So if you're totally depending on that one device, if that one device goes down, your whole network goes down, or your whole rack full of rack servers or blade servers go down, right? So that is called single point of failure, and there should be no single point of failure in your environment. But sometimes there are so many big networks that budgets are very tight, and sometimes you end up with a SPOF as well. Hey, we can't purchase 2 switches for every network wherever we have to have 2 switches. So Safe says KFC is a SPOF of fried chicken. Yeah, I was gonna ask that. So fried chicken SPOF. How does... I didn't get it. Hey, come on. So, aren't there many other fried chickens here? I can name a lot, actually. 2 or 3, which I simply forgot right now. Okay. But KFC is not the only one with the fried chicken. There are many others. So let's do this discussion till 10 o'clock now. That which fried chicken you love. Right? No, just kidding. Okay. So, but yes, that could be a SPOF as well. Now let's go ahead and what we are talking about here. So when we say that there should be no SPOF, so primary virtual machine is on this hypervisor. Its virtual disk is on this data store, right? So this means that suppose you create a secondary virtual machine, but you put its disks on the same data store as the primary's disk is. So in that case, if the data store goes down, both machines are down. Right, so this data store would have been a SPOF then. So when you're creating that secondary VM, you just make sure that you don't put its virtual machine on the same data store as the primary one. You choose just another data store. And also one more thing is, obviously you're going to choose a separate host. That's the main thing. So, and the third is that you go for anti-affinity rule there. We just talked about it, right? So you need to create an anti-affinity rule. As soon as you think about FT, think about anti-affinity. They go side by side because your machines will be migrated, will have to, there might be that situation, the circumstances where you have to vMotion your machine. So in that case, make sure that these two machines have anti-affinity rule already defined for them, right? So okay, we get that. Now suppose the disaster does strike on that server which is active. So, and even before the disaster, anyone knows that when you have primary and secondary machines created, what is the purpose of active machine? What is the purpose of passive machine? What does active do? Anyone knows? What does active do? Anyone knows? What does active do? Anyone knows? I'll keep repeating that, right? Anyone knows what does active do? Okay, so Dipshika says active is running machine. And Sun's run services. Yeah. So it offers active VM offers end user connectivity. End user sees this as their production machine, right? And active VM offers end user connectivity. Okay, anyone knows what passive machine does? Okay, alternative says active carry production traffic and passive on standby. Yes, passive on standby. What is passive doing other than being on standby? Passive is the backup. Okay, how? And safe says wait. Yes, it is waiting. Yes.
Actually, it keeps the track, like keep the copy of all the data that is running over the like active machine.
Okay, by what type of replication? Exactly, that's the answer. There's a type of replication that keeps on going. Can anyone name that replication? Ah, there you go. Synchronous replication. Yeah, we can say log shipping as well. So yes, it keeps a copy of the whole data in that whatever is happening in the active is going to be synchronously replicated. There is a synchronous replication and there is an asynchronous replication. Anyone knows the difference? Synchronous REPL and asynchronous REPL. Anyone knows the difference? Synchronous REPL. So two-way and one-way. LAN and WAN? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, LAN and WAN. It's asynchronous can be used manually, optionally in the LAN as well. What's the actual difference? Okay, so Edis says synchronous is done simultaneously. Yeah, same time replication. So same time REPL, and with the asynchronous there's a delay in replication. What are we talking about then? So what does that mean? So same time replication will offer you a very cool thing called no data loss, right? And delay in replication will have some data loss, right? So no data loss and data loss. So this means if there's no data loss, one more thing is that there will be no downtime as well. That's what we need. No downtime at all. So you have active machine lost, then you can have end users will not even know that the active or primary machine is gone, and it will quickly fail over in seconds to the secondary machine. So delay in REPL, data loss, and slight, well, data loss. It's gonna still fail over, but there will be slight data loss, but there's not gonna be a downtime there. Although in asynchronous with long distances, yes, there's a downtime there as well. Okay, so normally they do say with asynchronous there's a downtime as well. It's delayed, exactly. A delay in REPL. So this is synchronous replication because it's a LAN, and it's gonna be synchronous replication. So sync REPL, right? So that's what's going on between it will go on between the two machines as soon as there's a change here. Now same time application means what? The change is being written here at the same time the change is being written here as well. So end user is making changes here while the same time the changes are being done here. So that requires a lot of bandwidth as well. But this secondary machine is updated up to the last second. And as soon as the active goes down, the passive simply takes over right away. The failover happens in seconds, and secondary machine or passive or standby machine was fully updated with whatever was happening on the primary machine. So you have no data loss, and the clients just see that, okay, they don't see any difference, and hey, they won't know that they were failed over to actually the new machine. So even the end user connections which were coming here, maybe many end users were connecting here, will all be redirected in case of a disaster to the other machine. So that's one thing that happened, but not only that, this happens. Suppose you have bigger environment and you have third hypervisor, fourth hypervisor, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th hypervisor, or 200 hypervisors. So suppose there's a E6i3 here. Not only that, if the disaster strikes, that it will fail over to the secondary VM. So if the disaster does strike, not only that the secondary becomes the new primary, but it also does not want to stay unredundant, right? So new primary, if the disaster strikes, it also at once creates its partner VM on yet another host, right? So it will create another partner. It will not remain non-redundant at all. It will try to create its partner machine because it's an exact copy, right? So it can create its exact copy anywhere else. So it's not gonna wait for, hey, are you coming up, active machine, previous active machine, and the previous active machine might send a message maybe through that Morse code, which means that I can't come, right? There's some CPUs down and they're saying it's gonna take time, so good luck. So it sent a Morse code there from the down machine, the active machine, that, hey, I'm not coming back for a few hours. So VMware says, hey, we're not going to tolerate this situation for a few seconds even. As soon as the first server went down or active is missing, it simply fails over to the passive, becomes new primary. A new primary creates its passive right away. It's not gonna stay non-redundant for even a second. But obviously you need a third hypervisor for that too, if the whole hypervisor went down. Suppose just the virtual machine went down, right? And still the hypervisor is good, but the virtual machine actually went down, and the rest of the machines on the same hypervisor are okay, but this machine has some issue. It's not coming back for a few minutes or a few hours. It will fail over to the other one. Another one will create another one for its own the secondary partner right away. Okay, so Edis says, does this mean it creates a VM? Yes, it creates a full VM, separate VM. It creates a full separate virtual disk on a separate data store. As Yang says, how do the two machines sync right away? So it's a fault tolerance, right? So fault tolerance FT creates the whole partnership and enables the whole synchronization between that. So this service FT is performing all this automatically for you on the third hypervisor. If we have a third hypervisor, that is, and if the first hypervisor is not gone, it is gone. So Deepshika says, what if E6i1 comes up, it will have two passive VMs. So yes, no, that if suppose this is the situation and the active comes up, right? Already this VM is in partnership with another VM. FT knows that it's going to automatically disconnect this from the network. It's just simply going to disable that. No synchronization from active is then allowed with the help of the FT application there. Right, cool. And Yeah, E601. So
I just want to clarify something. So the machine creates itself. It auto creates itself without me doing anything. If one goes
yeah,
down.
yes.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, that was a question. Okay, yes, it does that automatically. So once FT is in place and fault tolerance is running, then it simply knows the configurations of the current machine, the current status it knows, and then it will just simply follow the rules that, okay, I need to create another machine. Now 6.0 version did not allow us to create the virtual machines, virtual disk on the same data store. It did not allow previous version, but this version 6.5 actually technically allows us to create optionally we can create it should be creating on the separate data store the virtual disk to avoid the SPOF, single point of failure, but technically in 6.5 you can actually create it on this same data store as well. Now some companies might say that, hey, our all other data stores suppose are full, we don't have any space in any other data store, so can't we just create on that this data store where the active is as well? So obviously you are taking the risk, it's your responsibility, you know what you're doing, you're creating a SPOF yourself, but maybe technically you ran out of space on other data stores and that's the only data store where you can create uh, the virtual machines, virtual disks. So technically yes, you can do that as well, although it's not recommended obviously, but virtual machines definitely are supposed to be on separate hypervisors. If it's just a hypervisor that goes down, because you have SAN and SAN is expensive and normally they have very good redundancy features there, so a possibility of a data store may be much less, but not fully gone, much less than possibility of taking a full server going down, because servers are running 24/7 365 throughout the year, every day, every night, right, throughout the week. So they have more chances of going down, crashing, while data store may not have that many chances. But either way, it's not recommended, but technically you can do that. Okay, so this will create another partner right away. Why? It needs to stay redundant. That's the most important status here. That's the only purpose you're actually creating FT. Anyway, right? So must stay redundant. That's the main purpose. With first machine or second machine, must stay redundant. I'm not waiting for the other machine to come up. It's not coming for a few hours, and this machine also goes down. Whoa, that's it. Bye bye. Now, companies have invested millions of dollars on maybe hundreds of hypervisors and thousands of virtual machines, and they will say that, hey, can't this machine just achieve the status of redundancy right away? We've spent millions of dollars on your technology, and do you have any solution for that? Because the first machine is not coming, we should not be relying on that, right? So VMware says yes, there's a solution. It will just create its partner right away. So that's a very intelligent solution, right? Okay, so this understood, hopefully, and I'll just take a picture of that and put it on the slide as well as the. Okay, so we can go for some more of the details here as well. Then we can start the lab, because the lab is also going to be a little longer. So yes, it supports 4 virtual CPUs and 64 GB memory with both machines. So it's just saying that there's more capacity increase in fault tolerance for the virtual machines in 6.5 and 6.7 versions. Supports VMware vSphere vMotion for primary and secondary virtual machines. Yes, so vMotion is fault tolerance aware. So this means that vMotion can happen for both primary and secondary. Obviously, we need to put those rules for these machines, the anti-affinity rules. Creates a secondary copy of all virtual machine files, including disk. So it's a fully independent second virtual machine that gets created. Provides fast checkpoint copying to keep primary and secondary CPUs synchronized. So primary and secondary CPUs also are synchronized, which means that if primary machine is working really hard, there's so many changes happening there. So the primary machine's physical CPU, it's hosted on E6i1 suppose, and E6i1 CPU is really working hard for that machine because it's so busy. So the secondary machine's CPU can be synchronized with the primary machine CPU. And hey, secondary machine CPU, physical CPU on underlying E6i2, can you also work hard enough or as hard as the first hypervisor CPU is working? Thank you very much. So it makes sure that the CPU synchronization is there. Okay, so Oren says, what is the difference between FT and failover? So failover would be, so FT is fault tolerance. So it's gonna tolerate the fault tolerance, tolerating the, what is the fault? If the machine goes down without the end user's disruptance, the active machine will fail over to the passive machine. So the services being automatically transferred to another virtual machine, that is called failing over, right? So FT provides failover process. So failing over is just end users are using this service, that whole service failed over in seconds or is available on the other. It just simply moved to the other machine and it is activated on the other machine and it is just there, right? So this is the process of failing over. So FT provides failover. Okay, so if we go ahead, so guys, there's a question there from Orang, and I would ask you, everyone, that question: that does HA provides failover? Anyone? Does vSphere HA or high availability or vSphere availability, does it provide failover feature or not? Jiang says no. Anyone agrees with Jiang? Okay, Atsham says no as well. Does vSphere availability feature or high availability features provides failover or not? So 2 students says no. This means all others agree with that. Oren says no. Okay, anyone else? Anyone agrees to that, or everyone's disagreeing to that vSphere availability or high availability feature, vSphere availability or high availability feature offers failover? So there's a confusion on the larger group. Only a small amount of people say that no, it's not going to, vSphere availability does not offer failover. But a large group is not answering. This means you guys are confused. Okay, so does high availability of VMware offer failover? This would be the question. Does vSphere availability HA offers failover? Okay, Achan says in HA service up with downtime. So does it offer failover? HA doesn't offer failover. Eris says okay. Achan says HA service with downtime. So failover is only offered. Okay, Manu says HA plus no downtime is equal to FT. Wow. Okay, so that's a good formula here. So HA normally in Microsoft is another vendor, VMware is another vendor, right? Microsoft's high availability solution is offered by failover clustering process that provides true high availability, which means that no downtime. So does vSphere HA offers failover? No, and there is a downtime, which means the users are disconnected and the machine is restarted. So this is not a true failover. Failover means that end users don't even know that in the background a full server crashed and their services were in seconds redirected to another virtual machine on another server. This whole thing happened and end users had no idea. They were just working and they kept on working. Wow. So that is called, then you can say that is failover. But if you have a downtime and users are disconnected, then that's not a failover, right? So yes, you're right. HA does not provide failover. So HA the machine restarts. Restarting is definitely not failover, right? Okay, so we're talking about fault tolerance here, tolerating the fault, and it supports thin provision disks. Yes, thin provisioning saves space. Supports memory virtualization, hardware assist. So that just means that virtual machines can get more direct access to the hardware memory or RAM. Supports enhanced vMotion compatibility clusters. We talked about EVC, actually, did we? Okay, guys, enhanced vMotion compatibility, I think we visited that option, but so Deepshika says, so it doesn't support thick provision. Oh, it already supports thick provision. Now it also supports thin provision. That's what it means. Okay, cool. Guys, did we? So Mamilo says no break. Oh, Mamilo says actually please no break. So I get that message as no break. This means keep going, professor, and don't give us a break. Is that what you mean, Mamilo? Okay. So we were about to go for EVC, and but yes, at 8 o'clock we are supposed to have a break. Okay, so let's take a break and then come back. So we're going to talk about EVC, and then we're going to go for fault tolerance as well. So let's take that break. The break, and so okay.
Amir, will you check my machine now or after the class?
Okay, so no break for the teacher, but yes, sure. So
No.
no, I'm crying now. You hurt my feelings now. Okay, so just kidding. So yeah, give me your team viewer on the chat and let me connect to that.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, break, and classes starts 8:23. I'll pause the video now. Alright, so there's a question from Jiang, and is the history in vSphere only show DRS, not our vMotion actions included? Well, the vMotion action should be there. Are you recording? Oh yeah, I am recording. Let me just double check that, and numbers are changing. Yay! Okay, I'm back. So minimize the recording and go back to the machines here. So yes, when you go to Tor cluster, monitor vSphere, DRS, and history, so it should show your migration. If it's not showing you migration, then wait for it, and whenever the migration happened, then it should show the migration, right? But if it doesn't show for a long time, you can just still take a picture of this and then try to repeat the lab when the video is uploaded. So we're going back to our fault tolerance topic there, and so there's a lot of things that we have discussed here, and those we need to prove as well. So there's that slide also showing what we were talking about, that if the virtual machine here, okay, the tab in the DR, there is DRS action. Yes, Jiang, so DRS action tab is okay. Are you talking about this? Tor cluster, monitor, vSphere DRS, history. Okay, so if it's, yes, it's if it's saying DRS action, which I don't say on my side here, then what you see there, you can just take a picture of that. But normally if it had worked, then it should show migrate. But if it does not show migrate and just say DRS action, but DRS action also shows that VM03 was actually moved from one hypervisor to another, that's also okay. If the wordings are different, that's okay, as long as it proves that the virtual machine was actually migrated. Right side. Right side. So DRS action. You can just share your.
I'm confused about there is a place, there is a Marguerite. So why there is two words about this one? Why they don't keep use only play something to somewhere or some memory something to somewhere? What action initiated by?
Yeah, it does not show that it was initiated by the affinity rules, but because DRS did that migration, so it just says this or shows this. But how? Why? What was the reason of the decision making? So that's not showing there. Now, save says it says system under tasks.
The event is reported under tasks and events. If you go there,
Okay.
in monitoring, not just in front of you here. Go back. Tasks and events. Just the third tab. The third tab. Issues, formats. Yes, exactly. There, and then you can see under tasks and under tasks. Exactly. If you expand this window, you can say that this task is initiated by the system. So that's what we are talking about here.
Okay, that's very good. And this is initiator is the system. So, well, that's system is what? It's initiator is system, and system is the vCenter. And inside the vCenter, it's the actual authorities DRS, which it's not saying exactly, but it is only the DRS that really does that. So that's another way to say it, that it did that. But does it show that it was because of the that anti-affinity rule? So it does not show here as well. So yeah, you can dig down more into events here and check out each event one by one. Then you can check. But the thing is that well, it's just saying the same which we saw in vSphere DRS, that it was able to migrate, and here in tasks and events it shows that here is the same thing, but not very clear what we did.
So it actually says that under the task, if you expand the bottom type, the bottom part of the window here down. Okay, if you expand that. No, you see these under that where you are now, just to the right, a little bit to the right.
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 Oh, right.
Right and down a little. Okay. Where does it say 100 items? You see that?
100 items.
100 items on the bottom of this window. Just go a little bit down. Yes, 100 items. You see that? Yeah. Just go a little bit to the left. You see these 3 lines here?
A little bit to the left.
Yeah. Just put yes, exactly. Drag it to yes, and then you can.
System memory is very bad, so.
Okay, so under there it says, I will read you what I have here. It says DRS migrated the machine from blah 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 blah. So it's there. If you move it more, you can see more stuff.
Okay. So actually, I should be putting it up then.
Yes, and then there under related events, maybe not this event, maybe another event or a task. If you go to tasks, maybe you will.
Mention the word.
It says DRS, yes. DRS migrated the.
But isn't that what we were seeing here? vSphere DRS here.
I think it depends on the.
It also happened at the same time. Exactly what you're seeing there.
Yeah. But it's under tasks, maybe. Go to under tasks, not events. Okay, and yes. You see it here? Yeah.
VM under Tor cluster. Okay, if I check more, it's. Not saying anything different than what we see here. But yes, that's a good thing that you have pointed out that where it shows in detail other than this area. If it had given more detail, that would have been easier to understand that was it because of the anti-affinity rule, or was it just says that it migrated. So, but exactly this is where tasks and events we can also see. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, Jaswinder, that's very good. So your machine is working. So it's just the services in the background. So guys, thank you for showing this as well. And this also is another way to see that. Otherwise, a monitoring solution like vRealize, which is a big one and expensive one, that may show more details. Unless, well, I haven't seen the details of why it initiated there as well.
Please check the second one, relocate virtual machine.
This one?
One I want to check. Yeah. So
There are no related events.
no related event.
Migration virtual machine. Yeah, so it says that it changed from, actually this is the same DS1, so it belonged to that DS1, and it still is in terms of storage. It's still so the virtual disk of this machine was not moved, only the virtual machine itself moved. That's what it's saying here. And yeah, if you go ahead, keep going ahead with the next one and next one. So that's what I'm saying, guys, that dig it out and check it out here if there are more details about that, and if any of the details actually mentions the affinity rules. Otherwise, you can see it here. It's not a complete report, but none of the reports say that it was initiated because of the affinity rules. So that would be a good thing if after the class you can go ahead and check. And let's go for the next topic, which is fault tolerance, because this is something that you can do in your free time as well. And in the class time, we should be understanding the concepts and how mainly it implements. Once you get the basic idea of everything, then you can go ahead and explore in your free time as well. Alright guys, so what we are talking about here is the fault tolerance and some of the details that I've talked, and this is the diagram that we have mentioned as well. Okay, so Eris says we haven't discussed the EVC. Yes, that is what I was also mentioning in before the break, that what is EVC, or enhanced V motion configuration. So let's go to first EV and C. EVC is different than fault tolerance. In fact, let me just explain some of it, that what are we talking about. So EVC, enhanced V motion compatibility, right? Enhanced V motion compatibility, and it lets the V motion think that the CPUs of both hypervisors have all the compatibility with each other. So please go ahead and migrate the machine. So let me explain that with diagram, that what EVC does. So if we go back to the diagram here, what EVC does is, now for the vMotion, we have discussed in the vMotion topic that the processors of the machine, CPU of the machine, both hypervisors, the physical machine that is, should be either exactly the same model from the same vendor like Intel, or both should be from AMD, or both should be from Intel company, or if they are from Intel, suppose they should belong to the same family. Like suppose you purchase suppose this is HP server, physical server, and you purchase it in 2019. Then this is another newer model of HP physical server, and you purchase it in 2020. Now some of the processor features are advanced here in the newer, although they both belong to the same family. What am I talking about family? So this is the processor family, where a family of processors having slight differences from each other, but they were released side by side, like within 2 years another a bit more advanced version of the same processor, Intel processor, was introduced. Then after 1 year, or after 2 years or 3 years, another advanced version of CPU was introduced, and they have slight differences from each other, and their basic architecture is same, so they belong to the same family. So in vMotion, if the virtual machine has to be migrated, the vMotion service first sees that, hey, is my source hypervisor physical processor and my destination hypervisor physical processor, are they the exact same company or not? If suppose one is Intel and the other is AMD, then vMotion will not happen, right? If suppose one is Intel, other is Intel, but their processor, they don't belong to same family of Intel processors, So this means that maybe this hypervisor or physical server you have purchased like 5 years ago or maybe 7 years ago, and this after 7 years you purchased a new one. Now this Intel processor here in the new one belongs to a separate Intel family of processors. So in that case also vMotion will not work. They have to belong to the same vendor and to the same processor family. So how to check that all the hypervisors belong to the same family? That's where the EVC comes in. So EVC, or enhanced vMotion compatibility, is a feature that shows that lets you detect what is your processor, underlying processor right now, and you can run EVC on a cluster. And suppose in a cluster you have 10 hypervisors. Suppose in a cluster you have 10 hypervisors. EVC will check that which hypervisor's processor is actually part of the same Intel family. Suppose you purchase those physical servers in different years, not at the same time. Better purchase at the same time, exactly same model and the same configuration, same capacity hypervisors with same processor compatibilities. Better do that, but sometimes companies don't have that kind of budget. Next year, maybe last year they had big budget there. They had a lot of surplus of money. They purchased 5 or 6 more physical servers. This year they had very less budget, but they still purchased 1 or 2 more. Now 1 or 2 more have newer, suppose, processors of Intel. So that's where the difference comes, and EVC tries to fool the vMotion into thinking that, hey, both processors are exactly the same, there is no feature difference, go ahead and do vMotion. So EVC fools the vMotion into thinking that both are exactly the same processors, please go ahead and do vMotion, right? So let's go back and check where is that enhanced vMotion compatibility feature. So click on door cluster here, this one, and then click on configure, right? We're checking the EVC, then we're going to continue with fault tolerance as well. So door cluster here and configure. Once you click that door cluster and configure, then you can go down until you see this VMware E, V, and C, enhanced vMotion compatibility. So if we select that EVC, now it is supposed to detect server grade processors, not our laptop processors, right? So you're gonna see that although you may have Intel processor, but there may be no Intel family that is shown here that may be compatible with your processor, because they are supposed to go for IBM servers or HP servers or Dell servers or Cisco servers, right? Server grade processors, server level processors, not laptop and desktop level processors. So anyway, if I go select EVC and then let's click edit here, right? Let's click edit. So you can see that the EVC is disabled, but if you have AMD physical hosts, which has HP hosts that you have purchased, HP physical servers, they have AMD processors, suppose. So you can select this, and then you can just drop down and check that there are so many generations that it can detect. It can detect. So suppose I select the generation 3 here, and underlying error you will see compatibility error. The host CPU hardware does not support the cluster's current enhanced vMotion compatibility mode. The host CPU lacks features required by that mode. Obviously my laptop has Intel processor, so this is correct that I do not have an AMD Opteron generation 3, but you can see AMD many generations it can detect. So let's go for then Intel processors, enable. So if you click that Intel processors, first of all, if you go to drop down, you can see that there are Intel Mirom generation, Penryn generation, Nehalem generation, Westmere, Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge, Haswell generation, Broadwell generation. So you can see all the names here of different Intel processor generations, right? So this right now Mirom is selected, and you can see that Mirom generation, Xeon Core 2, Xeon 45, NM Core 2, Core i7, 32 NM Core i7, Sandy Bridge. So these are all the generations here, but it tells me that no, my current laptop processor is not from Intel Mirom generation. So I'm going to go for next one, Intel Penryn, right? If I select that, no, it gives me an error that no, your processor is not belonging to Penryn generation as well. If I go for Nehalem, now you get the idea that you keep on selecting, it's going to give you errors. And I know that mine is Sandy Bridge, so Intel Westmere generation, if I go, it's going to say no. But on Sandy Bridge, it's going to give me a green arrow. So there you go, validation succeeded. So it detects my processor, laptop processor, as Sandy Bridge because it has shown this. It's compatible, yes. And compared the Intel Westmere generation EVC mode, this EVC mode exposes additional CPU features, including, and so these are all the in-depth processor features from Intel that you can go for Intel documentation and check it out as well. Some Sandy Bridge microarchitecture processors do not provide the full Sandy Bridge feature set. Okay, so now some of you might not have any generation detecting your processor, and very few might even every generation is detected as green for your laptop processor, so it might do these. So anyone who got the green here, compatibility? Okay, so Acham says yes, Oran says not me, Ayodhiji says yes, Nadeep says no. So few laptops have been detected by this EVC. Deshan says not at my side, Deepshika says not me, okay. Majority will be actually no. Previous course also all had laptops and majority said no. Kior says no, Ayodhiji says Intel Haswell, okay. Ramanjot says no, Changing says yes. So if it's green, yes, it EVC detected your processor. If it's not, obviously none of the generation your processor belongs to, it is okay, it is normal, because these are for, few laptops are that having that much features that they qualify for belonging to a certain generation. And it says here as well that some of the features, some processors, even with Sandy Bridge generation, if some of the features are not available, then it becomes red as well. So that's how it is. And if your laptop does not have those features, if it is green, just press OK. If it is not green, then yes, it's something, it's a limitation. So either you can go to the market and buy a new one, or keep it as is. It's okay, doesn't matter. Well, it matters because EVC fault tolerance can be only configured on those machines where EVC is enabled. So that's a problem now. So those only can go ahead. Although those who don't see here green can also follow me for the fault tolerance configuration until you see the error that, hey, your EVC is disabled. If you don't get this error, that's good. But it's for certain processors that are so not every laptop will be supporting this, right? So that's the main idea. But we understand that if it is enabled, EVC then fools the vMotion into thinking that, hey, all your hypervisors have exactly the same processor, so go ahead vMotion and keep migrating the machines. That's the main job of enhanced vMotion compatibility, EVC. So it lets the vMotion happen easily, and even if some processor has some features different than the processor of another hypervisor, if there are difference of features, it hides those differences of feature, right? EVC hides and shows vMotion, yes, go ahead, they are exactly the same processors, even though they are a bit different, if they belong to the same family, right? So if it is green, I'm just going to press OK, and it is going to get enabled now. So that's EVC overall that we are talking about, and it just masks or hides the certain differences of minor differences of processors between the two hypervisors, which do belong to the same family. They must be all Sandy Bridge in my case, or Haswell generation in your case. Okay, so we get that what is EVC and what's the purpose of that, and we enabled it as well. Then we can go back to our bigger topic, which is the fault tolerance. So as we were talking about fault tolerance, and it's also showing that it's if the first VM goes down, its secondary will become primary, but it's going to create a new secondary as well, right? So that's what it's saying. And then in the next screen, it's just saying that vSphere fault tolerance creates two complete virtual machines. Okay, Ramajo says what we need to do if it's no. There is no choice. And if you're able to press OK, then it's OK. Otherwise, press cancel. Even if it's no and you press OK, I mean, EVC is not enabled, but I think it's not going to let you press OK. So cancel out. Now, and do keep following the labs until you get that error. If you get that error that, hey, your EVC is not enabled, so we cannot go ahead. So in that case, you can stop and just watch the video then for the fault tolerance lab only. Okay, so, 850. Okay, so, yeah, each virtual machine has its own VMX configuration and VMDK files. So this is just saying that what we have discussed already in the diagram, that, it's going to be a totally independent, different machine with its own virtual disk, with its own VMX file. VMX file is configuration file, right? So it is the brain of that virtual machine. So it will be a totally independent secondary virtual machine that will be created as a partner for the active or primary or first virtual machine, right? If I go down, if you guys go ahead, so it talks about overall that symmetric multiprocessing. It also supports that if the multiprocessing is going on one machine, or multiple processors are being used for the first virtual machine, it's going to use for the secondary as well multiple processors there. Then it also says that the virtual machine vMotion is compatible with this fault tolerant machine. We already talked about that. And then it also, well, it's the checkpoint data, or the data that was saved in one machine gets copied right away on the other side. Checkpoint data just means that virtual machine A or its copy is created for whatever changes it made. Its copy is at once sent to the other machine, which is a secondary of that. And then it says also SMT, FT, or SMP, so symmetric multiprocessing again. Fault tolerance checkpoint interval is dynamic by default. It adopts to maximize the workload performance and can range from as small as a few milliseconds. So it says that there is a checkpoint interval, and after every second, actually, it's still keeps on copying all the changes that has been done to the secondary host. Remember that it is synchronous replication, so it is doing copying at the same time. In this, it's saying that there are two files that gets created for fault tolerance: share.vmft and .ft generation. These two files have the information about where is the primary host, on which hypervisor is the primary virtual machine, and which hypervisor is the secondary virtual machine. So these two files actually take care of that. And there's a universal unique ID, or UUID, that is also available, and through those the FT knows that, oh, my virtual machine primary is with this universal unique ID is on this host, and my secondary machine with this UUID is in this host. So that is and then there is a turn on fault tolerance. So we will choose one machine, we're going to keep it off, and then we're going to turn on the fault tolerance while it is off, then we're going to turn it on. So now be ready for some of the errors that's going to pop up, and it's not that easy to get the fault tolerance really up and running with the limited hardware. 16 GB is ridiculously low overall memory. Normally vCenter gets its own 64 GB or 128 GB RAM, and it's working properly at that RAM, or just 32 GB only to that's vCenter. So here we are giving 8 GB or 10 GB, so that's not enough already. So it's a sensitive process, so it's going to detect even very small changes and might pop up with errors. So lab steps: increase the memory of E6i1 and E6i2 from 4 GB to 8 GB, and vCenter VM memory as 8 GB as well. Seriously, are you kidding me? So guys, what we can do in fault tolerance is, if it says increase it to 8 GB, what we can do minimum to minimum 6 GB. And yes, with your hardware limitations you don't have to do that, but you can still overcommit if you want to go aggressive. This is not full automation and full aggressive mode of DRS. It's your mode. You can be actually aggressive as well, and you can give your two hypervisors actually 6 GB RAM. But let me just first go ahead and talk about all this. Increase the memory to Office XI1 from 4 GB to minimum 6 GB or 8 GB, and vCenter VM memory as 8 GB, which is already there. Have two data stores, that's check. We have two data stores already, right? Turn on EVC, and that's an ouch. Well, those whose laptops do not support EVC, you can't do that. So you can still follow some of the steps that we're doing, or just if your EVC is not on, you can just when you're uploading the document, you can put on the document, sir, my EVC did not work for my laptop, so I was not able to do the FT. So you can just put that in the document when you upload, right? Let's have a new network adapter VM kernel. So we're gonna add VM kernel port. VM kernel ports are used for adding new virtual machines and new features. Let's enable FT logging on both hosts. Choose any VM and shutdown in shutdown state. In shutdown state. So we're gonna configure all the prerequisites now. Okay, and so T-shoot. There's a T-shoot page here, right? So if there are errors, then make sure that VM, the virtual machine that you choose, has 1 GB RAM, not 4 GB RAM. Make sure that the virtual machine has been given 1 GB RAM. Because of our limited hardware, that's why we're taking these steps. 1 GB or less. Please check which data store it is on. We're going to check that too. Because we need to have primary virtual machines, virtual disk in one data store, then the secondary virtual machines, virtual disk on another data store. So we need to know which data store our primary virtual machines, virtual disk is on, right? So turn off FT and then change them. Suppose you discovered later when fault tolerance was you were trying to enable, and you'll discover later, oh, my virtual machine has 4 GB RAM. So in that case, you have if the fault tolerance was already enabled, then you have to turn off fault tolerance and change the RAM. If the fault tolerance is enabled and you want to change the RAM afterwards, it won't let you do that unless you turn it off. We will not get to this situation because we're gonna confirm that our virtual machine is 1 GB, 1024 MB, right? You need to have a HA and EVC enabled. Okay, again, if your EVC is not enabled, you actually cannot do this lab. Just mention in your document when you upload today, the EVC was not working for my laptop. If we are still low on CPU and memory according to FT, then we can visit admission control feature of HA and turn it off. Yes, admission control feature must be turned off. We already did that, right? Okay, there's a question. Sorry, if EVC is disabled, then which steps we should follow? Could you please repeat? Yes, guys, so if your EVC is disabled, you cannot follow the fault tolerance lab, and you can sit back and understand what's going on and ask questions and see the demo and understand how it is done, right? Because it's a hardware limitation on your laptop. So if EVC is not enabled, then those do not need to follow this lab and just try to understand. In fact, when I say take screenshot, those who are not following can take screenshot of my screen and mention in the document that, okay, since my EVC was not working, so I took your screenshot. Otherwise, those for whom the EVC is working should take their own screenshot. This is just for today, right? Good idea. Okay, so guys, I need a screenshot of the EVC error as well. So, right? In fact, we can go back here quickly. And guys, are you still on EVC? So let's click the edit button. Actually, in that also we can. So those who are having green, you can take a screenshot, and those who are having red, just select any one of those and take a screenshot, right? Those who are having green, take a screenshot here, number 3, and EVC works. You can title that screenshot. Those who were not able to see any there, just go for any, check any generation and put a screenshot of that error, right? So oh, that's another Ramanjot has shared this. The host CPU hardware should support the cluster's current enhanced vMotion quality mode, but some of the necessary CPU features are missing from the host. Check the host's BIOS conversion to ensure that no necessary features are disabled. Okay, so yeah, well, either you can follow this, otherwise, yes, for this, if this error is coming, yes, it is still disabled. So they're saying that you need to actually explore the BIOS of the laptop and check out if these features, wherever they are in your laptop BIOS, are enabled or not. This is just a kind of a hard work, and most probably it might not work, but it can as well if you really want to explore that. For now, yes, this error is okay to put on your document as a reason that you were not able to do fault tolerance lab. So I need a screenshot with error. So yes, this screenshot is good, Raman. Okay, so guys, I'm going to take a sample screenshot here. You can take your screenshots and either say EVC works or say EVC did not work. EVC does not work, right? So I'll just put that there. You can just put screenshots according to your status. Excuse me. So screenshot 1, 2, screenshot 3, EVC works. And I'll put it here as well. Screenshot 3 equals EVC works. For those it doesn't work, just say it doesn't work. All right. And once that screenshot taken, then I would just understand from that document that okay, that's why you were not able to go for fault tolerant lab specifically. So I'll just press OK here again. It is enabled, and okay. So here we're going to go for the prerequisites, and the first prerequisite is increase the memory from 6 GB from 4 GB to 6 GB. Now EVC may, it's not may, it requires more RAM, right? So this is one thing. Oh, it's not even showing here. So that's the one thing. I'm going to shut down both hypervisors, ESXi1, ESXi2, and I'm going to increase its RAM to 6 GB each. Right? That's the first thing we're going to do. Those who have total 16 GB RAM and have already overcommitted, it's your decision. I leave it to you. If you don't want to go from 4 GB to 6 GB, I know it's overcommitting. Most of the time it works. So my suggestion is that if you were already overcommitting and this is overcommitting, then do go overcommitting. If it freezes your machine, then you don't have to go ahead if you want to go that way, right? So Changing says my ESXi has only been allocated 4 GB, that is max. Yes, we can change that to 6 GB, but those who have already overcommitted do not have to overcommit further. They can also stop. So when you're uploading the document, you can say, hey prof, because my 4 GB is the max, Changing, we can shut down and increase the memory to whatever we want, right? So that's what I'm saying. Aris says, if our EVC does not work, do we increase still? No. If EVC is not working, for those EVC is not working, stop here, don't do anything, and sit back, enjoy the show. But wherever I say take screenshot, you take this screenshot of my screen, after showing the error on your EVC, you need to take a screenshot of my screen. Those whose EVC is working can take their own screenshots of their screens. Hopefully that's clearer. And let's go and ahead. So we still need to see how it works, guys. So I'll just try to quickly do that before 10. Excuse me. Okay, so why was I here? Okay, so yeah, okay. Here. So I was gonna increase the memory of my two hypervisors to 6 GB. Those whose EVC is not working do not have to do that. Those whose EVC is working, go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna shut down E6i1, and I'll shut down. It is 4 GB here, so I'll shut it down. And once E6i1 and E6i2 are shut down, I'm just going to increase the memory to 6 GB for both, and then I'll just power them on right away. Excuse me. So E6i1 is shut down. I'm going to go to the memory side, and I'll increase the memory to 6208, which is okay, and press OK and power on. Then I'll go for E6i2 and increase its memory from 4 GB to I'll drag it carefully, or you can directly type there 6208 here, directly type here as well, and then click anywhere else. It's going to show 6.1, which is okay, and press O and K and power on, or power on. So once the two hypervisors are they're powered on, then we can go for the next step. Wow, okay, it is uploaded. Yay. Still waiting for the hypervisors to fully up and load. Oh man. Okay, it's fully loaded here. I'll go for the second one. It is fully loading, and it is id as well, loaded. So we're good. And I'm gonna go back to vCenter where it detects that they're off. Now it detects that E6i is back up, and it's going to detect. So I'm just gonna refresh this here. So it should detect that the E6i2 is back as well. So other than that, if I go back to the checklist here, so first thing, increase the memory of both hypervisors, E6i1, E6i2 to 6 GB. I did that. Have 2 data stores available. We have 3 data stores available, so this is O and K, right? And then turn on EVC mode. Okay, that is also check, done. vMotion must be working. Yes, we checked that for affinity rules, so it is working fine. Let's have a network adapter and new VM kernel port. So remember that VM kernel ports were added to configure the advanced features. So the VM kernel port is going to be added for this advanced feature as and well, right? Oh, Saf says timeout, so this means that
I'm sorry, I have shut down both ESXi. I had the error before for the incompatibility, but I enabled the virtualization, all the options of the virtualization, and turned them back on. And now I have the validation succeeded for all the CPUs, all types of firmware.
you enable virtualization in the BIOS of your
And the
laptop?
E6i, most of them, if you enable the yes, not only the VT but also the CPU performance counters and the virtualize. I've enabled all of them because I had already the Intel VTX was
Yeah,
on.
that's by default actually on here, right?
Yes. So if you enable all of those, it should increase. I don't know. For me, it worked. So
That's
yeah, in case anybody wants to follow.
that.
Yeah.
That's very, very useful information. Thank you, Saf, for that. So you said you enabled these two as well. Okay. So guys, you heard that. You can still jump in that lab, in this lab. So what you can do is just turn off your E6i1 and go to the processors area, and then in the processors, Intel VT should be enabled already. Virtualize Intel VT X EPT. This is already checked, but check the virtual CPU and virtualize IOMMU and IO memory outputs unit, so management unit, and select both, and then power on these hypervisors, and you can then check the EVC again. So Seth, which iteration it detected for you?
Well, detected the Xeon, which is weird, but the first one, the Miram, and the second one, the Enrin, I don't know, which is weird because it's a Xeon processor, but anyway.
So it detected all generations for you?
I tried the first three, it worked. Yeah, so after that, I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much for this, and this is an excellent troubleshooting. You deserve actually plus 10.
So, Amir, how we can enable it? Because we should first turn off the ESI, then go to process, because right now I have no ability to select CPU or IO memory management.
We mentioned that right-click and shut down. So right-click here, power, and shut down test. And once it is fully shut down, then go back to settings, right-click and settings again. And then so guys, I'll just do it power on, and I'll just do it for one. Those who got the error, please everyone go ahead and shut down both hypervisors like this.
Wait. Oh, I actually lost it now.
Okay, so too late for that. I already started shutdown. So this should be minus 10 now.
So I don't know what it was, but now when I'm trying to do it again, it's not working. So it's, I don't know, it's weird.
Okay.
Just ignore what I said. Take the 10 samosas back.
Man, now I'm taking back my samosas. Come on, man. So edit virtual machine. Well, anyone who wants to try is okay. Anyone who doesn't want to overcommit can also sit back and enjoy the show. And you just mentioned in the document, Prof, I didn't want to overcommit. It was already slow, right? But what Saf said, you can just do it here, these two, after shutdown. Now you're able to click. But it's a good thing to check that for all laptops, because everyone has, or many of you have different vendors, different types of processors there. Maybe it works for someone there. Okay, so that is a screenshot shared, and Olatunde says monitor mode power on failed to start the virtual machine. Ouch. Okay, then turn it off, Olatunde, and yes, then we can sit back and enjoy, not enjoy the show, but understand the topic. But if so, guys, if you're not, do try it. But if you're not able to do that, you get an error, it's okay. Then let me just show that. But that's a very good discovery from Saif, and maybe some of you are trying and it actually works for you, and you are able to do fault tolerance lab. Sitting back and understanding is easier, but for your job, you need to actually do it, right? So any effort you put there, extra effort you put there, it's going to only benefit you in your career, right? And just sitting back is the easiest thing to do. But if you have an option, go for it. My suggestion, just go for it, right? Okay, I've just started that again.
So we should change the RAM to 8 gigabyte or just keep it as for ESI1?
6.
6, okay.
And also the second hypervisor, same 2 changes. Okay, Addis says it did not work for me. Okay, so at least we tried. That's something we should be content on, that we should try, and we then if it doesn't go ahead, it's okay. So guys, let's go back here and oh, okay, so not work for Deepshika as well, and but you guys tried. I salute you for that. And otherwise, the easiest thing is not to try, right? So but you guys tried, so that's very good. Hey guys, let's go ahead and I'll just try to explain this topic. Let me do the demo now because we have small time left. It's enough time to actually show a demo. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the VM kernel port in ESXi1 for the introduction of fault tolerance feature in both hypervisors. So remember that VM kernel port is always there. VM kernel port is there to add or introduce a new feature, right? So I'm going to go to the ESXi1 hypervisor now, and here I'll just you can see that VMK 0, VM kernel port 0 is there, VM kernel 1 is there. For vMotion management network is the 01. So we're gonna go for the VMK2 now to introduce some advanced feature into the hypervisor, which is actually the fault tolerance. So I'm gonna go to this VM kernel adapters and add host networking. This one, add host networking, and then I'm gonna click that, and I'm gonna select VM kernel network adapter. And what are we selecting there? Fault tolerance feature. This is what we're installing, right? This one. So I'm going to keep it selected and click next. Then according to vendor, well, we can go for vendor best practices, right? So okay, Ramajot says didn't work. Well, the good thing is you tried. So new standard switch. I'm going to click that new standard switch here and give it 2 dedicated network cards. So I selected new standard switch. I'm going to click next. Then there are active adapters, standby adapters, unused. I'm just going to add 2 active adapters, right? So I'm going to click plus sign here, and there are 2 adapters. I'll press the shift button and select both adapters, right? And press O and K. And then next. So I'm gonna label the network label as FT. I'll just name it FT, right? And I'll go down to the second one, fault tolerance logging. Fault tolerance logging, right? So FT here, fault tolerance logging, and click next. I'm going to give that separate IP address. So the IP addresses that I gave here for vMotion was 200.10 for ESXi1 and 200.11 for ESXi2. So 200.12 and 13 I'm going to give for fault tolerance. So 192.168.200.12 tab 255.255.255.0. So this is the IP address I'm giving for the hypervisor 1 fault tolerance VM kernel adapter. 200.12 and 13 will be for the ESXi2 fault tolerance for VM kernel adapter. I'm going to click next and finish. So there's the finito. So I'm going to add the same VM kernel adapter to the second hypervisor as well. So I'm going to go to the second hypervisor here, and I'm going to go to the add host networking, right? And VM kernel adapter, this is the feature we are selecting. So fault tolerance, I'm going to click next here. We're not putting it on existing virtual standard switch, we're putting it on new standard switch and giving it the 2 dedicated network cards of its own for better bandwidth, only available for this fault tolerance feature. So I'm going to click next and click the plus sign, So if I chose the adapter 4 and 5 in E6i1 and I'm choosing the adapter 3 and 4 here in E6i2, it is okay. It doesn't matter. Technically it's gonna work fine. I'm gonna select the VMNIC 3 and 4 here and press OK and click next. I'm gonna name that FT as well, and I'm gonna go down to the second one, fault tolerance logging, and click next. So as we remember that we put the 200.12 as the IP for the hypervisor 1, I'm going to go for 200.13 as the IP for hypervisor 2. So 192.168.200.13 tab 255.255.255.0.0 and click next and finito. So this once we click finito here, so now we have the VM kernel adapter configured on both hypervisors. So if I click the slide here, so that's the prereq we needed to do. That's done. Then we have let's enable FT logging on both hosts. So well, yeah, this is what we just did now. Choose any virtual machine in a shutdown state that is on shared storage. Check which data store first VM is. Right, so I'm gonna check few things now before I enable. So I can choose any one of the virtual machine and I'm going to select that for fault tolerance. So I need to actually confirm that the virtual machine actually is on which host, right, and which data store, and does this VM have 1024 MB RAM. Okay, so these three things I need to know about any VM I choose right now. Which host, which data store, does this VM have 1024 MB? So it's like 1 GB RAM. Okay, let me just make it simple. Well, it's gonna show it that way, 1024 MB RAM, right? Or 1 GB RAM. So I'm gonna go back here to this hypervisor, and I'm gonna check that which machine I should choose. So I am going to choose VM03. No particular reason. You can go for 2, you can go for 4, but I don't want it started. I want to right click and power and then power off. And yeah, so I'm just gonna power off that. Why power off? Fault tolerance is really CPU and RAM hungry application, so it's going to it's better to turn on the fault tolerance on a a stopped machine, because it doesn't take a lot of RAM during that time. When it's powered on, then it takes a bit more RAM or more RAM. So we don't want more RAM. We actually don't have more RAM. You're gonna see that. So I'm turning off the VM03. That's the first thing. I'm selecting VM03. Second thing is which hypervisor it is on. It is on E6i2. Okay. So just because I need more RAM, I'm gonna shut down any other virtual machine that is on. I do not want any virtual machine to be on, because any virtual machine being powered on is eating up my RAM. So I do not want any virtual machine to be on. So all machines are off now, first thing. Second thing is the machine I chose is on E6i2. Now before I go, one more thing is that I need to delete that anti-affinity rule. I don't want any surprise errors there, right? Remember that we configured anti-affinity rule for VM03 and 4. I chose 3, and I remember that anti-affinity rule is configured for that. Because we're understanding the fault tolerance feature for now, I'm going to select Tor cluster. I'm going to select configure. I want to delete that final anti-affinity rule as well. Yes, we know that it is supposed to be for fault tolerance, yes. For now, I want to make sure that my any other feature does not give me surprise error, and for that then I have to troubleshoot for now. But later, once you understand how FT is configured, then you can go ahead and just configure those rules as well, because my primary machine is there, but its secondary has not been created yet, right? So for now, I cannot create the fault or that anti-infinity rule anyway for this machine. So I have come here to VM host and rules inside Tor cluster and configure and VM host rules, and then the anti-infinity rule I had, I selected it and deleted it. Now I'm going to go back to knowing more about this machine. Suppose it's a critical machine and I want to enable fault tolerance for this. So I'm going to select that, and first of all, it is on ESXi2, right? And second thing, what is the RAM for that? This is going to show in VM hardware. So VM03 and summary tab lets us see this. I'm going to expand that VM hardware here as well, and it shows me it's 1024 MB. Okay, so that's good. It's 1 GB RAM. It's on ESXi2. If I go back to this, so for the host it is ESXi2, and for the data store, oh, I don't know that. So let me check that. VM03, it is on which data store? It's on the right side here, right? Data stores, and it is on DS111. So got it again. It's on DS1. Basically, I need to remember DS1 here, because then there's DS0 and DS2. So my secondary machine should be on ESXi1 first of all, secondary, and secondary machine's virtual disk should be on any other data store other than this, right? So I'm going to go back here, and now I'm going to try to enable the fault tolerance. So everything else seems to be in place. So I'm just going to right click on top of this machine, which I chose to have fault tolerance on. Suppose it's the most critical machine, one of the most. So fault tolerance is this option. Then I'm going to go for turn on fault tolerance. Once this option is turned on, sometimes error pops up right away, sometimes it does not. So if we have enough resources in the machine, it's going to, okay, instead of this, normally it gives an error here as well. Oh, you don't have enough memory, or you don't have enough this resources available. But if everything was in place as I had asked or requested it to be, then it shows this screen. Then we know that it's asking for secondary machine now, secondary VM disk. So which data store you want to put it on? So I'm just gonna, I know that my primary is on DS1. I'll put it on DS2 secondary. I'll select the other data store because it's asking for secondary VM. So okay, DS2 is okay, but if I select DS1 where my primary is also, in previous version of hypervisor vSphere 6.0 actually, vCenter, it would just give an error that hey, that's where your primary machine is. So but here it lets me actually select that to where the primary is, but still this is not recommended. So I'm just going to go for any other data store, DS2, and for the secondary machine, and next. Once we go to next, so then because this machine primary is on hypervisor 1, hypervisor 2, VM03 in my case is on hypervisor 2, so its primary automatically will be on hypervisor 1. And next, that's it. So it just wanted which hypervisor and which data store, right? So I gave that information, and I'm going to click finish now. So there's an error showing for Adeji when that machine is started. The fault tolerance configuration of the entity blah, 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 which fault tolerance requires the host to have a virtual NIC enabled for fault tolerance logging. Well, yeah, there could be all kinds of errors. Virtual NIC should be there, and it says not enabled. Okay, so Adeji, you can see this. You can go to ESXi1 like this, go to settings here, and just go to the network adapter and make sure that it is connected, and whatever network, suppose you selected 546, so you have to, in your case, you have to just check all if every NICs, these two boxes are checked, right? So just try this. I'm gonna cancel out from here because very less time left. Okay guys, so in my case, FT seems to be done, and you can see that for fault tolerance the icon of the virtual machine is dark blue, and for other normal regular virtual machines the icon of the virtual machine is light blue. Dark blue is the fault tolerant configured virtual machine. Light blue are not configured with fault tolerance, right? So I want to power on this machine, and then it will create its copy, or it will show its copy. Great. So I'm just gonna go to power, and at this time also it spews up a lot of errors if there is some issue. I'll try to power it on, and down here power on virtual machine VM03, initialize powering on, start fault tolerant secondary VM, and it's still creating in the recent tasks. Power on virtual machine, start fault tolerant secondary VM, and completed. Okay, so some good news here. You can see that the green play button is showing there. This means it is powered on, first thing. But where is the primary and where is the secondary machine, right? So we can go to this view. If we go to ESXi1, and once you select the ESXi1, then select the VMs, right? ESXi1, and then go to the right side here on VMs. So I will see that on ESXi1 the VM03, and it is secondary, it is showing secondary, right? If I go to ESXi2 here, same view, ESXi2 and VMs view, right? This one, so it shows primary. So that's very good. This means now I have the exact copy of the VM03 in ESXi1. So ESXi2 has the primary copy, and ESXi1 has a secondary copy, right? So this is very good. So guys, this will be our screenshot number 4, that fault tolerance configured. So those who are not actually following the lab can take a screenshot of my screen. Go ahead and take a screenshot of my screen if your screen does not show this, or if you're not there yet. Take a screenshot of my screen and title it that FT works, FT configured, actually FT configured. Then I want to actually show you that we can failover, and then also I'm gonna do a crash test on fault tolerance. So if you have all taken the screenshot here and labeled it as FT configured, so I'll just take a sample screenshot here as well. Okay, screenshot 4. Hopefully everyone has taken screenshot of my screen. Not everyone, those who are not following, others, and those who are not following, please also put the reason there, because of EVC or because of I don't want to overcommit, it will go too slow. So just put some reason there, so I would know that this is the reason you were not able to put your own fault tolerance screenshots. Screenshot for FT configured, and okay, so here if that is done, so first of all you see there's a primary and secondary, right? Now how about if I want to go for planned maintenance? What is planned maintenance? I want to patch the machines. I just want to fail over from this machine to that machine. So my primary is living on ESXi2, my secondary is living on ESXi1. Can I make ESXi1 based machine as primary and ESXi2 based machine as secondary? So if I right click on the primary here and go to fault tolerance, and then it says test failover, right? So I'm going to click test failover, and as soon as I do test failover, so there's a failover going on, completed, and so I'm just gonna refresh that. So it says disconnected and orphaned, and then, well, it's just giving everything slow right now. So I'll just check the other one. What is the status there? Yes, the other one is primary now, which was supposed to be secondary, and the second one is gonna update its status soon, and it's gonna just show secondary, but it's going through the process on top of a very slow machine. Now it shows secondary, right? There's a secondary here. So yes, it fails over fine. So if I want to fail back, like failover back to this, so test failover again, and now E6i1 base machine is primary, but now I want to see it as secondary, so it becomes secondary again, and E6i2 machine, which was secondary, now is back again primary, right? So E6i2 is primary and 1 is secondary. Remember that E6i2 has the primary. How about if I cause a disaster? That is also called crash test, right? So I'm going to crash the machine, the hypervisor that has the primary machine on it, right? And what I expect is that the secondary, which is on 1, should automatically change its status to primary, right? Right now it's saying secondary. It's going to change. Yeah, it's showing secondary, right? So it should automatically change to primary when I crash the hypervisor that has my current primary machine here, right? E6i2 here, and I'll go back here, E6i2, and I want to crash it. So guys, the crash does not work properly if you don't say oops after the crash, right? So you must say or scream about it, oops, then the crash properly happens, otherwise crash will not happen, right? So I'm gonna go for power, and shutdown is a proper way to do it, but if I go for power off, this is like pulling off the plug directly, right? So when you power off, you have to say oops, otherwise it's not a correct power off. So I'm gonna click power off and oops. Okay, there you go. See, once I say oops, it's perfect now, right? Okay, so when I go back here, it did not detect that yet on the hypervisor level. It should detect that E6i2 is actually down, so I'm just gonna make it detect that. I'm gonna refresh on the browser level. It's gonna refresh all the settings, and it's gonna show me the current new status, which is that hypervisor 2 is down. But it should also show me that E6i1, which was having secondary VM, its status should change automatically to primary. Oh, it still did not detect because there should be a red error here. You're kidding me? Oh, yes, it does. It detects that, and if I go to the hypervisor 1, yes, automatically it's primary now. So it did fail over when the hypervisor went down. So okay, could the IP address you assigned to 2 exist for the FT be any IP in same subnet? Yes, it can be any IP in the same subnet. Yes. So as long as it's in the same subnet. So yes, guys, the crash test also is successful. It is actually changed to primary automatically, and you saw that E6i1 had the secondary. I just had to crash the primary hypervisor, and now the secondary became primary here. So that's, take your screenshot number 5 now, that FT works. Before it was FT configured, the screenshot number 4 name. Now screenshot number 5 is FT works, right? So screenshot number 5 is FT, or fault tolerance, works. So because you can see that the status, the hypervisor, second hypervisor, is actually down now. So take a screenshot of my screen, those were not following the FT and those were following, and if they're not there, then they can wait for the video and upload it and complete their screenshots. So take a screenshot here, screenshot number 5, and the name of screenshot is FT works. So I'll take that sample screenshot now. Hopefully others have taken the screenshots of my screen. Yep. Oh, thought somebody said something. So I'll put that sample screenshot there as well on. So it says the screenshot 5 FT works. And put that sample screenshot on the group. Screenshot 5 FT works. No, works. Okay. So that is FT works, and that is so importante. And now this is FT, this is fault tolerance, it pretty much works fine. And what we can do is we can start another very big topic now that's gonna go until 11:30 or 12 o'clock. And since it's outside snowing and it's gonna snow a lot of snow will be there, so why don't we just study during the snow time and enjoy this time, right? So just bring your coffees and everything, and let's continue with the next very big topic till 12 o'clock or 12:30, right? You will have power failure in 10 minutes? Are you kidding me? So you actually planned it, Saf. So okay, so let's start the next very big topic till 12:30. And that next very big topic is that upload your screenshots now and see you next week. Oh, okay. So yeah, okay guys, that's it.
Sorry, just one thing to add. After we did the the virtualization options on the ESXi's, you have to shut down the virtual machines. I didn't want to interrupt because we don't have a lot of time. But if you shut down the VMs, the VMs 03 and 04 because they were running, then that's why there was a problem. If you shut them down, the detection for fault tolerance will work. For me, it's working now.
So the EVC is still on?
Yes, it's working now. I'm
So it
following
will
you.
detect if the actual two hypervisors.
Yes, after you do the virtualization for both ESXi, you have to shut down the virtual machines, the VM03, because they were running, and that's why there was a problem with the detection of the compatibility with the processor.
Wow,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. After that, it works.
Amazing. That's a very good thing. You deserve actually 20 now. So amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. So guys, if the hypervisors are shut down after selecting those processor options, then EVC detects and EVC stays on. Okay, so that's very good. And
Sorry, what's the idea? I didn't get it. What's the idea?
idea is this, that if you shut down these two hypervisors, and my other one is shut down already, suppose it's there, so right click here, go to settings, and you know what to do here. It's just go to the processor and select these two options. That's the first thing. And second thing is keep them shut down here and do not power on. And this is also shutting down, right? So keep them shut down and then try to go to EVC and
No, sorry, not like that. It's if you power them on now, it's okay. And then you have to shut down the virtual machines from the vSphere,
the virtual machine's not there.
Yes.
Yes.
So after this is done, you have to shut down the virtual machines on the virtual
This is
machine.
the
So,
virtual machines that we need to shut down. So if they're on, then EVC is not able to detect for some reason.
That's the problem.
Okay, thank you. That let me add 10 more. So so guys, then to detect the EVC, so first we did this. Thank you, sir, for updating that. And processor, you select all these three, and here also all these three, then power them on. And once you power them on, just make sure that these machines are all powered off, and then go to EVC and do that detection for your Intel processor. Check any Intel family. So the machines should be powered off. So that's a big wow there. So my suggestion would be that please do try this at home. Okay, actually you are at home. So T-shoot, I'll just put it on slide and I'll upload this there. that in order for your laptop processor to be detected, do the following. Shut down both hypervisors and select all options for the processors, and then power them on, and then make sure all VMs inside ESXi 1 and ESXi 2 are shut down, are powered off. And the step 5 is now go to EVC and check your Intel processor generation. So guys, anyone checked it? Processor generation. Okay, so Jiang says, can you please point the location of your FT document in BB? So guys, anyone can also confirm, anyone else can also confirm while I'm showing Jiang the where it is. So Jiang, if you're on the blackboard, so on the left side, go down a little, and do you see learning materials anywhere on the left side when you're on the actual course page here? You see course material, right? You see my grades, you see home, course materials again, and getting started, and then learning materials. So Jiang, try to look for learning materials. You're welcome. Okay, cool. Guys, let me just hopefully anyone else is trying what Saf says. I would really appreciate that. Or if you want to try it later, you can just try that later as well. But if you're trying now, that would be very good. And check that if EVC is working for you while I create that upload document. So do try this, guys, what Saf said and what I mentioned there as well. So we could all bring 30 samosas each for Saif. So for those it's working fine. You all have to give Saif 30 samosas, and he has to eat in front of us as a, thanks giving gesture. So oh no, that's great. Okay, so week 10, week 11. Hey, is it week 10 or 11? Seriously. Week 11. So we got like 3 more, 4 more. So I'll just make it edit. Week 11 and 30th Nov. And should show. Okay, Cure confirms work for me. Gabriel confirms work for me. Thank you, both of you. I salute you for confirming right now. But the big salute goes to Saif. Saif is the chief guest today. So if Saif says we can't shut down the class today, we can cancel the class today. He's the chief guest. We will have to follow what he says today. So if he says stop the class at 10 o'clock, we're gonna do that. Don't worry. So, okay, shut down the class. That's it, guys. That's it. Saif said it, so we need to do it now. He's the chief guest, and thanks for the best troubleshooting there and sharing that information. And everyone has to bring 30 samosas. Even virtual samosas works fine for now. You have to give it to Saif 30 samosas. Okay, where is it? Yeah. No, not samosas. Week 11. 30th November. And I'll just assignment. So please upload week 11. So that's very good, guys. This means everyone can do that. Thanks to Saif. And think of it that you need to do it for your job, right? For your career. And not for, oh, I have to do more. This is time to really work hard, and you got some of those that help from others as well. So make this time count and work hard. make this happen. So everyone, please submit your own fault tolerance screenshots before the next class, right? And this is for your own job, for your own career, right? If you do that. Okay, so oh, Deepshika says I still don't. Deepshika, hopefully you didn't miss any steps. So VMs are down. And then check EVC. Okay, Mamelo says yes, power off the VMs and then check EVC. So Mamelo says, how about exam collection? So Mamelo, it's prep away, and students have passed from there as well. So it's the file is available, and it's a 1 year. I've created that. I purchased that in $800, the subscription for 1 year, and it's just $20 for every student. This is an effort to make everything cheap here for the students. Otherwise, each file you can get in is $85 one file. I'm putting it on $20 for 1 year. You keep asking, I'll keep putting new files there, right? So anyone else, I've already put that deal. So if you're already part of the group and you've done the e-transfer of $20, I will just keep sending you new files whichever exam you want. Okay, so power off VM before EVC. It's working all types. Okay, Ramanjot also confirms that. Very good, very good, very good. So, the virtual samosas are also good. So anyone can, copy a picture from internet or virtual samosas for SAF or a cake, big cake, right? Okay, thank you guys, and see you next week. Shut down, power off your machines. I'll just suspend my machines now. And I'll stop the video now.